This is the KoperCrabb Podcast.
I'm Cheney Crab.
I am Naveen Copperweiss, the main host.
I'm the main host, Cheney Crab. Today on the podcast, we have our friend Dave Rucki. He's the drummer of a band called Sentinels that Naveen and I have talked about on this podcast like 1,000 times. Probably.
And I wore the shirt like probably 10 podcasts.
Yeah, you've definitely worn the shirt out on the podcast.
I was actually looking at your guys' shirts the other day. I saw the new merch drop that you guys did.
Oh, yeah? I'm pumped on them, man. I think they're probably like the best designs we've ever put out. Everything else, like, we had like the one that you have, like that was like one of my favorites beforehand, but I was like, all right, we're coming back. We haven't put out new merch in like a year because we just haven't had the means to with everything that's going on. So we're like, we got to put out some banger merch. Yeah,
the hoodie was really cool. I mean, I don't know if it's something I could wear, but it's really cool.
Why? What made it something that you can't wear?
It's like, it's white. I don't know if or off-white or something like that.
It's like beige.
Beige,
yeah,
okay. Yeah, I guess I could swing it.
I think you could rock that.
I think I could rock
the mock-ups always look lighter than they are. Like the gray one on our site, all the time people are like, God, if only it wasn't white. And I'm like, it's gray. And they're like, no, still no.
I'm actually still good on that. I want a black shirt. But
like, damn.
No, it's really cool designs though. You guys kind of you're like slick with your designs, you know, very
Thank you. Yeah, that was done by
I don't know how to contemporary
Rui.
We'd call it.
It was done by who?
Yeah. It was this guy Rui. I can't remember his last name. I'll check him out real quick. He's done like a lot of stuff for, I'm pretty sure for like Silent Planet, Currents, like a lot of like the really like popping off like metalcore bands right now. And we just saw like how he kind of incorporates like stuff that like people who love band merch would wear, but then also like people who like streetwear look and like they go kind of that route. So
totally,
we just decided to go for it, and he busted those out in like a day. We were like, oh my god. But yeah, his name's Rui Carnero. It's like I can't remember where he's from. This guy's sick though. He does work for like pretty much every band I listen to. So we just had to hop on it.
So is he doing your album cover as well, or it's just like you're doing merch drops with each single? Or
yeah, he just did our merch, and apparently I didn't know he wanted to work with us for like quite a while, so like it kind of like worked out that we were able to make it work. And then we have somebody else doing our artwork right now.
Hell yeah.
Oh, it's like the whole like landscape of it is done. We're just kind of getting like all the like the text formatted right and all that stuff, and stoked on that too.
Yeah, because you guys like you put out a single the other day, Inertia. It's fucking sick, man. It's really good. I like your new vocalist as well. He's very
I've listened to it 3 times.
Yeah.
Nice.
But so you guys didn't like actually announce an album with it, right? You're waiting to do that?
Yeah, it was just kind of like the objective was to announce Sharp Tone and get like a new single out with it. Like just kind of hit everybody with something. And the album is probably just going to come a little bit later because, you know, with everything going on, like, you know, managers and the label people are like hoping that touring will come back sooner than later. So they're hoping to do that like slow kind of single rollout. And then, you know, if things are still kind of the way they are, then we'll be like, okay, album's coming out. But the album is going to come out like this year at some point.
That's awesome. You guys have had to have had it done for like a while at this point, right?
Yeah, we went into the studio for pre-production in like mid-February, I think. And then like the record was pretty much done instrumentally. Well, because literally we were supposed to be in there from March 1st to the 30th. And like that was it. And then literally it was like mid-March was when everything went awry. Right. So we just like the label kind of was just like, well, you know, and then that's when, you know, Joe and us like parted. So like that also extended time. So we didn't really have any limits, but you know, eventually time was going on. And like, once we finally got Josh in the mix, we were kind of like,
that's the new vocalist, I'm assuming his name is Josh.
Yeah. And we got him, he lived in Alabama. So we had to like work out flights and stuff like that. And like when it was safe to have him come in. And so like, it just like really extended the process. Like from like, a time frame of like almost 4 or 5 months, and then it was like turned into the label I think early September. So we've been working on it and sitting on it for quite a while.
That is the worst. Sitting, because we're working on an album right now too, and it's like as every song gets done, it just gets more painful to have to sit on it for
I know.
Who knows how long.
Because you're like, this is holding me back. Like I need this out.
Yeah, it's like it's always natural to, I think, to prefer the latest thing you've done and to think that that's like it moves your band forward. So to know that you have that like hidden and people can only hear shit that you put out a couple of years ago.
And it's like times 100 when you're in the band,
Yeah.
You're like, if this album came out, I'm gonna be so huge and famous. It's gonna just set us off to the next level, dude.
Yeah.
Of course it never happens, but
the thing is, like, I want to show everybody.
Yeah.
Like I want everyone to hear it, but I'm like, well, it's technically not our property, so it's like we can't just be, sending it out. It's a pain, but like I know that like the wait will be like worth it, and we had no idea how like this first like single release was going to go, because we're still like a very small band, and like seeing the reactions like the first day and whatnot, and the reception to Josh, because that was another thing that we like, as much as we love him and love what he's done with our music, people still like they'll shit on anything,
of course.
So we were just like, let's just hope people like it, and overall like the response was great, and we couldn't have been more happy about it. And like there were so many people like in the comments like saying like, finally this band got some recognition like they deserve, or some like that, and I was like, holy shit, like a lot more people are aware of us than I ever thought.
Totally.
And like they've been following us pretty much since the beginning, which I had no idea any of those people were still around.
How long have you guys been a band?
They became a band in like 2012, and then their first EP dropped in 2013, and I joined in like summer of 2015, and I'm the third drummer like in their whole like world of member changes. It's like vocalists and drummers, like we've had the hardest time.
Wow, it's the opposite of our band.
Yeah.
It's like
it's everybody else.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we got that portion locked down.
Yeah, totally.
Oh my God.
But I mean, that is a long time to be a band. And, we toured together, it's been 2 years at this point. That was technically the last tour that we actually did, was that tour, because,
Was that the last show, or was Des Moines after that?
No, we played like a one-off in Iowa festival after that. But that, the tour ended in a pretty like fucked up fashion. I mean, it wasn't. It was awful for Betraying the Martyrs. For us, we were like, we're close to home, so we're gonna leave. And that I had no idea that was gonna be the last.
For listeners who don't know, we were on tour. This is how we met Dave and Sentinels, his band. We went on tour with Betraying the Martyrs.
Yeah.
Sentinels.
Couple other bands. Within Destruction.
Yeah. And like midway, maybe
literally the halfway point.
Point,
crazy.
It was
like
after
on the drive from LA to Sacramento.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Their trailer apparently lit on fire.
Right, like something with the generator.
Yeah, I don't know,
happened.
But their trailer lit on fire, and then we were just like, if they're going home, we're in Sacramento, and we live in Santa Cruz. Like that's 3-hour drive.
Yeah, well, because every date after the Sacramento date was just getting further and further from where we lived. So it's like,
so for you guys, you're like real screwed.
We had to go. We had to like get back somehow. But like, and also I remember you guys were like, spending like quite a few days like trying to like fix your trailer and stuff like that. So you guys were having like your own issues as it was. So like it was perfectly understandable. And then like I had to talk to Luca from Within Destruction after the show. I was like, so are you guys still trying to play shows? Because we're trying to make this happen, and and I know that shows are getting canceled. And Luca was just like, "We're going to do whatever it takes." And like, he was like, "We're going the same place you are. We're not fucking missing any shows. We're going." And like we went through Canada. I was like, "Holy shit!"
It sounded like it did okay. I mean, after with just you guys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were just in the States a couple months before with Lorna Shore on like their headliner, and people like went nuts for them. So like we actually were pretty lucky to like still have them like headlining like above us, because like even last minute, like with less than a day's notice, like there were some kids that would show up to these shows like that were most of them were rebooked. And then
Mm-hmm.
the last show was in Hartford, Connecticut, and that show still kind of went on as planned. And then our friends in Currents, who are from Connecticut, had an off day on their tour, and they actually headlined that show.
That
And
show was probably insane.
Yeah.
Connecticut shows are crazy.
Yeah.
What's
yeah,
the name of
like
Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, it was like 50 people like away from like selling out that day, and I was like, all right, this is a good way to send it off. And like, because they've taken us out for like so many times, like Hartford is basically like our second hometown. So like we have such a great time whenever we go there.
What's the name of that venue in Hartford?
The Webster. It's like Webster Theater, then Webster Underground.
Yeah. Okay. So
that place is insane.
we haven't played the theater. We've played the Underground, but every time it's like packed out and people are going fucking nuts. I have a hematoma that I got on my leg like 3 years ago because I crowd surfed at a show at that spot. Like while we were playing, I jumped into the crowd and people threw me back on stage and I landed on the corner of a stage monitor. And it took my breath away, and it just hit my leg. Like, it was so fucking bad.
But she still has like a.
I still have a ball of like, you know,
like
I should probably get it drained. It's really fucked up, and if I think about it too much, I will like have a panic attack.
Oh yeah, I should get that looked at.
Yeah, but man, that place goes.
That place is
off.
insane.
Yeah,
dude, I love
there.
playing. I think we've played there twice.
No, we played there like 3 times because there was one time when Evan's bass got fucked up.
I know, but that was Intronaut.
Yeah.
And then the second time was with
Allegiant.
Allegiant.
Yeah. And then something else. I can't really remember.
I don't know.
But that place rules.
That place is
I love playing that place.
Every time we played there, and like we've headlined there twice, like on some little runs, and like even still for like a tiny band our size, like kids still come out, and I'm like, I love this place.
Yeah,
and like,
that's awesome.
It may be in kind of a sketchy area, but like the kids that come there are like pretty much family, and like I love it there. The promoter there is amazing. Like we've always been taken great care of there.
It's a good
time.
That
venue is awesome.
I got a haircut like down the street there, and the barber was like, aren't you kind of afraid? And I was like, afraid of what? And she was like, oh, just like getting jacked, like just being out here, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I'm like some guy on tour. You could try to jack me. I don't have anything for you to take. I mean, you could take like my wallet, you know?
There's not much going on. You can take my drink tickets for the Webster
I got
Theater.
like the best haircut ever down the street.
Yeah, you were looking.
And there's actually our promo photo was us like coming out of our van for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's at Webster.
It is at Webster.
And I had just got that fresh haircut when I was still getting haircuts.
Yeah, it was actually, I think, the night that Evan's bass got broken.
Yeah, and Evan's bass got kind of broken.
Yeah.
Kind of a funny story.
Like have some wild show experiences and get a killer fade, but you know, watch your back.
Yeah,
like,
watch your back. Apparently, I had no idea until I just heard through the grapevine that area was sketchy. I just walk around an area that we're playing, you know?
Yeah, I never minded. I never was like afraid for my life over there. I just always hear about like it being sketchy.
Yeah,
like,
same.
hey, go check on the van like once an hour. I'm like, okay.
Well, like they usually let you park right. Like we always park right in front.
Yeah.
You know, there's like a bunch of parking for bands, so I mean that's pretty good. And then I think another thing that happened there was like a crazy mob of like 100 dirt bikes and like ATVs and those little mini bikes went by. You remember that?
Yeah, I totally.
It was crazy.
That.
Like it was so loud and like Mad Max, just like.
I always wonder what's up with those kind of like mobs of motorcycle people.
Dude, it was
people.
sick.
How do they find each other?
I don't know.
Like, you know?
Dude, I was like, damn, that
it.
is sick. I've never seen anything like that. Like in the middle of a city, just like 100 dudes on dirt bikes and like little mini bike, you know, like those little from like the DMX video and stuff.
Oh,
like
yeah,
those little mini bikes.
Yeah.
Dude, it was sick.
Like there's still communities of people like that. That's incredible.
I know.
Like they have like a Facebook like group together. Like we're gonna mob through Hartford.
Dude,
we're going to Hartford.
And it's so loud, like it just took over everything. Another story I have about that place is we got those Super Bomb eggplant parm sandwiches.
I don't remember those.
They got great food around there.
Yeah, they had really good food. We stayed in a hotel like not that far from there because we had a day off. Mm-hmm. And I remember I went by myself. I was like, I'll go get us some food. And I went to this deli. and I got us
That's
these.
when we were staying there.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't.
And I
realize
got
we were in
us like
Connecticut.
everybody an eggplant parm
Yeah, I remember,
sandwich, and it was
totally.
like super good.
You know what's
dude.
actually weird now that you're saying that that bothers me about not being on tour is actually that I became hip to DoorDash and Uber Eats like in the time off.
Oh damn.
So
Yeah.
it's
So
kind
it's
of a
on.
bummer that I haven't been able to like go around and explore my DoorDash options because now I'm addicted.
Yeah, I'm used to the same shit like just over and over again here. Where I'm like, dude, I miss when I could like pull up DoorDash and be like 4 different In-N-Outs in the area. Like,
So you were using
Sign me up.
DoorDash on tour.
You were a
You're already
user?
hip to it.
yeah, it's only because like Danny, like he is hip to everything.
Yeah, he seems
Okay.
pretty hip.
Dude, he
seems
did.
pretty
Yeah.
hip.
He
He's
strikes
hip
me
to
as
I
everything.
think my man had Yeezys. You know?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
his clothing is on lock. He apparently is hip to the food
Yeah.
situation.
Oh,
Yeah.
everything. He's always worked in restaurants, so he's like
Oh.
big foodie too. He's basically like that millennial where it's like,
Yeah.
he's just hip to everything. Like he had Yeezys on tour. I'm like, why do you bring those on tour? I was like, that's
Yeah.
insane.
I mean, he
I was
looked
like, why do you
cool,
even
but-
own them? I was
Yeah.
like, I'd be afraid to get them dirty. And then I bought a pair because he just like would influence me in that way. Like where I just
Oh,
kept
dude,
seeing him
yeah.
wear shit. I'm like, "Ah, that's actually pretty sick. Or
Yeah.
like, the newest apps or whatever. I'm surprised he didn't tell me about Tidal, like that new streaming service.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
going on. Like I know nothing about it. And then our manager was like, hey, you're on Rising Metal's cover playlist of Tidal. I'm like, the fuck is that?
Yeah,
But
I know.
Sick.
I don't know what Tidal is.
I've only
I'm
been
learning
seeing
about
the
it.
name
This is-
popping up recently. Tidal and Deezer is another one. I see them, but do people listen to music on them?
I'm guessing so. I mean, like Defonce, like the other day was just like, dude, if you have Spotify, ditch it and get Tidal. And I'm so curious about it, but I just would hate to like get a whole new app ready and get all my music all in there again and like just have to
I already
refine
got
stuff.
all my likes, all my liked songs.
I know,
dude.
and I'm interested in the specs. Like, are they sending me artists in a similar fashion? Are the playlists going to be as good?
Yeah, the Spotify playlists are
The
are pretty
Spotify
legit.
app is like pleasing for my eyes to look at as well.
Yeah, exactly. And like the whole like release radar thing where it's just like,
Yeah.
it basically curates a playlist.
You
of
guys were on
everything
my release radar.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Nice.
There you go.
Made it
Now
on
you
there.
know that.
Yeah.
Now you know that your label's working for you,
Yeah,
bro.
you're getting some love, dude.
Yeah, finally. Something like that.
Fuck yeah.
Feels good, man.
No, I was like, dang, they're on my release radar. That's sick. And
And that's hella professional.
I checked
It's
it out
crazy.
again. It's a good single, by the way. The drumming's crazy.
Dude, thank you, man. I when we were like picking singles, that was not one in there. We were like, how the fuck could this ever be a single? But like it was just a band favorite. And then and Josh, especially our vocalist, was like, dude, that's gotta be, there's just something about it. And I was like, we'll see. But I mean, like, here's our picks, and then double checked with like the label, and then they sent them back their picks, and it was like basically half ours and half like their picks. They were like, we trust this, it'll go well. And the first one was that one. We were like, let's go, because this song is just relentless. And we were like, if they think it'll work, then
Yeah.
by all means, let's try it out.
Well, so what do you think made other songs more single worthy? Do they have singing in them, or are they like more like is the
No,
song
like-
structure different? Or
It's definitely more of like I don't want to say it's not like pop based like song structures or anything like that. And
Yeah.
there's still no singing. It's all just screaming. Like we did talk about incorporating cleans for like a nice like underlying effect in some parts, but like not as like a big main vocal.
yeah,
But we just time restraints, and like we couldn't really figure it out. Like the stuff in the background, like the ambience was like actually like doing the same melody we were thinking of. So we were like, not this time, maybe
Yeah.
another time.
Yeah.
But like the other singles, like they had kind of like a repeating hook that we all
Totally.
found catchy, that like our producer found catchy, and we were like, there's maybe something to it, or it just had like a nice strong ending. But we always did like flirt with the idea of Inertia being a single. So the fact that it is, and people are hearing it now and they're taking it pretty well, I'm stoked. So hopefully they just like everything else that's to come.
yeah, totally. I mean, to me, it's a written song. You like. It's got that catchy chorus line. It's got things that repeat, like the right things repeat. You guys, to me, are just like a catchy band in general. So I think that it works really well.
Thank you. I mean, that blows my mind to hear like anyone think our band is like catchy, because it constantly is evolving, or things are changing or not repeating as much. So like, to hear people's like different reactions to it is always like, it's awesome. And like that one is one of the few like where things don't really repeat as much, and like it is just a constant changing song and just heavy.
Yeah, for sure.
It's madness.
We just looked it up, and they're actually. So, who named the song "Inertia"? I'm curious.
Did Danny name it?
That was actually me. I wrote all the lyrics for this one.
You write lyrics?
There is a Yeezy colorway called Inertia.
Yeah, there's a Yeezy colorway we're looking at right now called Inertia.
Shit. I may have to tell Danny about that.
Well, so
he definitely knows about it. Obviously.
He's like, bro, I have a pair. He opens his closet and he's like, I got 10 of those, dude. I'm ready to sign them.
I would not be surprised. But yeah, so because Joe left, like, I don't want to say it like that. Joe didn't like leave, and like we didn't like kick him out. It was more like a mutual thing. Like personal things came up for him, and like just being in the band, like, and fulfilling the duties just unfortunately wasn't an option.
Yeah.
So like I had already started helping him with lyrics for a couple songs where like the tone was a little bit more like sad or melancholy.
Yeah.
Like with like the melodies and stuff. So
he's not a sad guy. He's not a sad type.
No, he's like, dude, I'm not good at that. So you take the sad emotional stuff and you do that, and I'll do the angry stuff. I'm like, okay. And so then I presented my stuff to Randy, and he was like, dude, this is awesome. And like, you should do the rest. And I was like,
oh,
wow. So I have to learn drums for this many songs, and now I have to write for X amount of them, because there is like one instrumental like interlude thing on there. So I was like, holy shit, I have to track drums and write for all this. So it was nuts, but it was like, I'm glad it happened, because I really wanted to take a different approach this time. Whereas like to a lot of people, the vocals in our band has always been like an afterthought, or just some guy screaming over it. And they don't pay attention to the depth of lyrics. I love that shit. I still buy CDs so I can like look at the lyrics.
Me too, man. I've always been totally obsessed with lyrics. So I like hearing that from you, because I like your band, and like hearing that there is a depth to the lyrics and that you've actually thought them through. Because for me as a vocalist, and a lyric writer, I care a lot about that shit. And I hear a lot of dudes in metal, especially, they look at vocals and lyrics as being an afterthought. Just because for some reason,
like, some girls on there.
Yeah, it's like, but to me, lyrical content is so important. Like that generally is a large part of what pulls me in or out of a song.
100%. Like there's been a couple bands where like at one point, like the first song I heard from them just opened with a lyric that just kind of made me like, and then I never listened to the band again. Totally. But then I went back later and discovered like a whole world of music. I was like, okay, that's sick. It's just that line kind of made me cringe, and I was like, yeah. So like the lyrics are super important to me, especially if I can make out what you're saying. Like, and if it's like speaking to me, I'm like, this is like even better than, just the music itself. Like if it has like that emotional depth to it.
Yeah.
Takes it to the next
you got
level.
me.
Actually,
takes it to like the next level for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Why are you laughing?
I'm just because I feel like you're someone who really doesn't care about lyrics.
It's not that I don't care. I just don't really pay attention.
Yeah. Well,
if words like stick out to me, I'll like be like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. But that's generally how it starts for me. Like I'll be listening to a song and I'll hear only a phrase, because, dude, even with singing, I know a lot of people claim that they can't understand what screamers say, or people who do the kind of vocals that I do say, but I mean, for me, it's just as much in singing. Like I can only tell a certain amount of things that they're saying, but I'll pick out a phrase, and if a phrase sticks out to me, then I want to like dig a little deeper into the lyrics, and it pulls out like a whole new world. I mean, dude, for me, that's why like bands like Circa Survive and mean so much to me, because I think that the lyrics they're such a huge part of that band. And I like
could not agree more. Yeah, like Circa was like a huge one for me. Like I heard Act Appalled when I was like 12 on like Fuse or something, and like the words, like even if like I was too young to understand like what it like all meant, like it still would just resonate with me.
Yeah.
And like I would buy albums like specifically and sit there like going through like the lyrics and stuff like that.
Me too.
like that all started with Slipknot, because Slipknot was like the first band in my house to get like banned when I was a kid because of Iowa. Like
really?
Oh,
y'all are hating on some Iowans up in your house, man. Fuck you.
Yeah, dude. my parents were like hardcore.
No,
they're like
protective.
the Midwest.
Like
we're
Kansas
not about
City
that.
Chiefs.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. We don't like Iowa. Corn. Too much corn.
Dude, straight up, like a little bit of a story time, but like I saw Duality on Fuse, and I was like, this is the sickest thing I've ever heard. And because like my parents, like I was the firstborn, and my parents wanted to make sure they did everything right to raise me right.
Oh, dude,
Usually it's the other way around. They're like, all right, we screwed that one up. Let's go ahead and do the right thing.
No, I feel like my parents were very much coming from the same position that you're talking about. Like my mom really wanted to do well with me because I was the oldest or the first, you know. Didn't want to.
Hey, like we got to mold this one right. We got to make sure it's, you know, all put together right.
Yeah.
And like, sure enough, it was like I had to get my parents' approval to listen to whatever I wanted to listen to, and they were like, all right, well, you know, I have to listen to it first, and then if I approve it, then sure.
Yeah.
And because I had only heard Duality, I didn't know what Slipknot sounded like before that.
Right. Which is I mean, that's like the breakout rock album for Slipknot, you know? That was like the Tame album.
Yeah, I did not know they were the angriest band on the planet.
So wait, when Iowa came out, how old were you?
Yeah.
It was 2001, so I was 7.
Holy shit!
You've been listening to
How old
since
are
you were
you?
7?
When's your birthday?
No, because like
that's Duality is not off of Iowa. It's off of Volume 3.
I thought he said Iowa.
Yeah,
the subliminal verses.
Okay.
But
so what?
Go ahead.
So basically, what happened was because I only heard Duality, I was like, oh, my parents are gonna let me listen to Slipknot. Like I was geeking out about it at school. It was like the biggest day for
like. It's like everyone, fuck you all. I'm listening to Slipknot tonight when I get home.
You should have got a hold of like a clean version. You know, maybe like a greatest hits.
Oh yeah,
or something like that.
I had no idea. And so my best friend at the time, she was like, "Oh, my brother has a Slipknot album. I can lend you that."
It was like the first. It was like the self-titled one. With like the
no, it was Iowa, like the most hateful record on the planet. And like I didn't know, so she like gave me she burned me a copy of it. So there was no parental advisory warning on it, nothing.
Oh yeah.
And I give it to my dad. He was like working construction at the time, so he tells me he's gonna listen to it on his way to work and on the way back. And he gets home, and I'm like waiting at the door. I'm like, what'd you think? Like, can I listen to it? And he just like reamed me out for wanting to even listen to stuff like that. I had no idea what he was talking about. And he's like repeating lines back to me, like, I want to slit your throat and F the wound. What kind of devil music is this?
Wait, so are your parents super Christian? Is that what was going on?
Like back in the day, like very strict with it. Now they're like cool Christian and like very cool. Like pretty much 180. Like we all are very like close and, you know, much closer and more like mature about like all that shit now. So it's like, but back in the day, it was like very like overprotective parent.
Yeah.
And like now it's everyone's basically friends.
Well, the thing with metal is they don't really realize that it's like an outlet. You know, it's not necessarily like, I mean, it's obviously not, he's not going to slit someone's throat and F the wound.
Yeah.
It's just something aggressive and that's like, that comes out of you for whatever reason.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't know, I dig that stuff because it's like, it's just like that dark side of man.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
there's an evil, a good and an
evil.
But
once you get into it more, you know, you don't really even think about it. You know, I'm not thinking like, oh, Morbid Angel. It's like this, like crazy. You know, I'm just like, oh, Morbid Angel. Sick.
But you know, I do.
I mean?
Were your parents young when they had you?
My mom was 21. My dad was.
That's pretty young.
26. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty young, man. And I do feel like they're like the generation of our parents. My mom's probably 5 or maybe like 8 years older than your parents, but she had me when she was 20. And I do think that there is something coming from their generation where the kind of music that we listen to, like with crazy screaming and stuff, that's not what metal or rock was to them. And on the immediate, it does seem kind of scary. It does seem, you know, I could understand why you would be a little frightened that your child was listening to that shit. I mean, my best friend's mom like broke a Kitty CD that he had when we were kids. But you know, it was like there is something that happened between their generation and ours where it's like we accept like crazier things in some way. Like we're more open to stuff.
Yeah.
100%, because like my grandma, like even like she buys all our merch. She supports the shit out of the band, and like she's like still I don't like the screaming.
Yeah.
Like everything else, I think it's fantastic. And I was like, Graham, just wait for our new stuff. You can understand everything he's saying.
Just
and
wait,
I'm very
Graham.
happy about that.
Probably not.
Just wait him.
To us, it's like
Really
we made a pop song, and to them, it's like just the craziest
Satan.
Noise. Just you might as well be like having two metal zones and screaming in through them.
Oh yeah, dude, the most like
that's our pop song, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's just always how it's been. That's what was kind of cool about being in Animals. Like that was the first band I was in that didn't have screaming, and I was like, my grandma came to the show, and it's like, wow, you guys are just great.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't turned off by anything.
Yeah, like there's nothing getting in the way of enjoying it. Like,
there wasn't like a mosh pit or something.
I know. I mean,
But for me, I was like, there's no pit. This sucks.
For me, it's like my family has kind of learned to accept it just because I am the one screaming. Like my grandma does not like it at all, but my grandma also got an Entheos sweatsuit for Christmas. So, they're down to rock it, but they support, not really liking it, which is chill.
Yeah. I'll gladly accept that. Like
Me too.
if you just completely shut it out, or it's like you are not in a band, like I'm not going to, or like they just ignore the fact just because it's screaming. Like if they still support it and and they wish you the best and all of it, like I'll take that.
Yeah,
it's better
totally
than like
agree.
being neglected because of like your choice of music or some shit.
Exactly.
So like that's how I think about it now, because damn, like trying to get some people to like even like listen to my band, and like just because it had like screamed vocals, they're just like just not at all.
Right.
Like,
I feel like now though it's so, I don't know, it's like so common to have like it's not like it was when I was a kid.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that much.
Me either.
Because I'm a little older than you guys, and when I was listening to metal back in the day, it was like, wow, what's wrong with this guy?
Yeah, they thought you were like a crazy psycho.
I don't know. I mean, my parents are cool, so like they didn't really think too much of it. Like my mom, I don't know if my mom really knew what I was listening to, and then my dad is a musician, so he's like a big supporter for sure. I mean, but I wasn't about to like give him the lyrics of like a Deicide album or something like that. You know what I mean? I was keeping that on the DL.
For sure.
Like just like, oh yeah, I like it for the drumming, that kind of a thing.
Well, so Dave, did you like start by playing metal or drums in metal, or did you play drums doing something else when you started?
I started like really young, and it was just with like either classic rock or like radio rock. So like the first two songs I learned how to play on the drums were "Fly" by Sugar Ray.
Damn.
And "Push" by Matchbox 20.
Wow.
I thought that was like the hardest shit ever at the time. I was like, dude, he's handcuffed in the music video. He's angry. He's angsty. I was like, this is awesome.
Of course.
And then it was like that one like stereotypical like looking like metal kid on the bus with like the Jenko like, or like the goth pants, like with the chains and like the hair like past the ears, and just As I Lay Dying or Slipknot shirt on, and like he's the one that like turned me over to the dark side and like showed me all the good stuff.
Oh, he's like, all right, dude, I got the real stuff for you.
Yeah. He like introduced me to Kill Switch, Lamb of God, pretty much all like those. Like I don't want to say like the starter bands, but it was like the starter bands for like the new wave of like underground metal.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, Lamb of God when I was a kid was one of, I think that as far as like learning about what a scream could do, Randy Blythe was like my total introduction to that world. That's like he's why I fell in love with vocals, I think, in the first place. Like I'd heard some screaming before that, but screaming hasn't always been as like much of a singing voice as I think it is now. Like screaming was a lot more like maniacal and less tamed in a lot of music. And Randy Blythe was really the first person that I heard like really with the ability to really manipulate his vocals in a way that I found super intriguing. So I mean,
and he just always sounded like a monster. As a kid who like never heard vocals quite like that, I was like, this guy is it sounds so evil.
Yeah,
and
it fucking ruled.
it was like from there on, I was like, this guy is like one of the best, and like he's stayed so consistent over the years. It's crazy, and still like incorporating new stuff like in his palette pretty much.
Yeah, totally.
So like that was just like that, like one of those bands for me. It was like them and Slipknot. I was like, let's go. And I had to go through the approval process with mom and dad for both of those bands. Somehow Lamb of God made it through, but Slipknot, there's no.
It's because they had God in the name.
It's like, all right. I'll take that.
They're cool.
They had a problem with that. They're like, are they saying they are the Lamb of God? And I was like, good Lord, woman. I was like, you're finding any reason to like not let me listen to shit.
I know. Just like
It
really
was
picking it
ridiculous.
apart. So what led you, did you start playing in bands when you were a kid, or like what led you into the like more metalcore scene?
Well, my first band, like even though I was like well consumed into metal, my first band I joined when I was 13, and it was just like a rock like cover band with some friends of mine from school. And like so we had some member changes, and and then we just decided let's make originals, and it was like a progressive like rock band.
Mm-hmm.
And so like we had like a keyboard player in our band who was a little bit older than us, but he was like phenomenal, like worshipped Jordan Rudess from Dream Theater,
Yeah,
and
for
like
sure.
basically played like he was his son. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And so we just started writing prog rock songs all the time, and that got me like more in tune with like time signatures and stuff like that. But I was always itching to play metal, so I was like trying to play as much of metal drums as I could in this prog rock band.
Right,
and then just
like, I'm gonna throw a blast beat in here somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like
Double bass
I was
breakdown.
trying. I like worshipped like Mike Portnoy at the time. So like anytime there was like some crazy part with like a synth and it was like a holdout, like I would just jam as much like 16th note like kicks in there as possible.
Dude, I still love Mark Portnoy. I still love Mike Portnoy. I fucking love
Mark
that guy's
Portnoy.
playing now.
All right, we were watching the Beatles.
Yeah,
With Mike.
are you into Mike at all anymore?
Mike.
I don't follow much of his stuff anymore.
Okay.
Just like ever since he left Dream Theater, like I've tried, like just wasn't too into it. But like I knew he had like all these side projects and like these tribute bands and stuff. Like
Yeah,
he talked about in depth like on his DVD, and I loved it.
Oh, he did. That's cool. I'm like a weirdo, and I really am into dad prog rock, like that type of stuff. So he plays for this guy Neil Morse, and I'm hell of into that. And then
Love that.
So with Neil Morse, he has like a Beatles thing that they do, and it's really fucking good.
Well, all
and
the prog would have got approved. By the parents.
all of the prog. I mean, prog sounds pretty like Christian rock.
You'd be good to go.
So your parents are probably really down.
They'd be like, wow. They'd be like, Dave is just doing such a what a great
he's
guy.
praising
what a great
God
kid.
in there. I mean, Neil Morse, who Mike Portnoy plays for right now, though, he is a pastor. Like
he looks like
Christian
a pastor.
music. Yeah, it's straight up
He
Christian
does.
music. I mean, he just did a musical called Jesus Christ the Exorcist. Dude is super Christian.
There you go.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So
I
that
never would have
passed.
known that, but like he plays that part of like the pastor.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I loved like his like the work he did with like Neil Morse's like solo project and Transatlantic.
Yeah, Transatlantic is sick.
Then he had like this other like side band. I think it was called OSI.
I don't know
something.
OSI.
I don't know, like I can't remember their couple albums that they made, but like he played like little examples like of each song like on the DVD, and like everything just ripped, and I loved like everything. So like I wouldn't know where to find the albums because they were just like so obscure and out there, but like I would just watch that DVD on repeat and like just become obsessed with those songs. And like
that's
Neil Morse
awesome.
was definitely one of them.
Yeah, I love Neil Morse. And another thing about Mike Portnoy is just he's such a great vocalist. And I don't know if he's if a
He's
lot
like
of people
you.
give
He's
him
like
that
you,
credit.
Dave.
Yeah, I know. I was going to ask you, are you have you done vocals? Is that something that led you into writing lyrics and stuff, or?
He does vocals backups.
Yeah, I know, but like full blown.
Yeah, I mean, I was that kid screaming in my room at like 14 to records and shit like that when no one was home, and like I was constantly trying to get better and evolve myself. So like now like vocals are like my favorite like thing, like obviously right next to drums. I mean, it's all I can do. Like I can't play any other instrument, but like I've taken the time because I don't know anything else, like to try to expand my vocals and stuff like that. But I never wanted to assume a lead role in Sentinels or any one of my other bands. Just like contributing like those background, like textures and stuff like that. Like just something to bring some diversity like in the ranges and stuff like that. So like when I started doing it like with Joe had like that very low like deep voice, and so I was like, how can I compliment him but without sounding too different, because like I don't really do the high stuff. So I would do like those kind of like hardcore yells like that you heard like Misery Signals early stuff, like the background material. And then when Josh joined, because he kind of had that more like still hardcore tone, but it wasn't like as like low tone. I was like, now I can incorporate higher vocals. And so I'm not like doing like highs, like kind of like in the style like you do, or you know, in other forms of metal, but like I was doing like, I really don't know how to even really describe it, but like more like higher ranged vocals, but then I was able to layer some like low stuff in there, like with Josh, like me and him, like I'm layered all over the vocals, like the whole record with him.
So you're actually on the album.
That was, yeah.
I like that. I like that when there's a backup vocalist that the band uses the backing vocals. I think it adds a nice touch to it.
I'm a sucker for that shit. And like that was like part of like why I was like, okay, if I'm gonna write some of this stuff, I was like, I think I should find some parts that would be appropriate, because some of these patterns are kind of close together. So performing live, they make it difficult. So let's try to orchestrate this right. So
smart.
I'm like 2 of the singles, like I'm like splitting like a chorus with Josh, and then like one of them I have my own like solo part, which I'm like really stoked about. And then there's like the rest of the record, it's just like in between, like little parts, like here and there, like not as prominent parts, and then just like background stuff, just to add like different ranges and textures. So I'm really stoked that I got to do that, because now when I listen back to my performance on Sound, I'm like, dude, I was just like freeballing that, like, you know, like how can I make this work with Joe's textures? But like this, it was like way more well rehearsed.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's what should happen on each album. You know, you look at what you didn't do right, and you're like, all right, we're gonna do it right on this one. You know,
because like I was like practically like ripping my throat out on Sound trying to do that, because it was just so unnatural. It was just like angstfully like yelling, but like with some like pitch to it or something. And like now when I listen back, I'm like, this wasn't the right move.
Maybe that's why you're waking up without a voice some mornings, man.
It could be like, I've not done that vocal style in a minute though. Thank God. I've been able to manage my voice a lot better than I ever have. Like since it was like straight up throat shredder. Like on all those tours, some days I was like, this fucking sucks. But then I got used to it. But I was like, this is not what I want to be doing long term.
Yeah, I feel you.
So like growing up in New Jersey, did you go to a lot of local shows? Because I know like New Jersey always had like crazy local shows.
Oh yeah.
For my old bands.
I could see Jersey going the fuck off, just because.
You're probably too young to have seen my old band though. You've got to be
Animosity, no, but like that kid who like turned me to the dark side, he told me about your band all the time, and his band opened for you guys like in New Jersey or Philly or something like that.
What was the name of his band?
The name of his band was Parental Advisory.
Damn, that's one of those local bands you remember.
I think we got a clip here.
Oh yeah. That's that new
exactly
Parental Advisory right there.
Yeah. Dude, they like for the time, like, and how old they were, like 12, 13, they ripped. They were like pretty sick for their age. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, so that's hilarious. I mean, honestly, I think I can remember the show to be 100 with you. I can remember a couple like real DIY Jersey shows that Animosity played. And I couldn't tell you like what the venue was called or anything like that, but it was similar to a VFW hall.
Okay.
A lot of children present.
There was like for a while there was like the Freehold VFW or something. Then there was Prince of Peace. That was one I heard about all the time.
This was like in the woods, kind of whatever I'm thinking of, and I couldn't tell you more than that.
Yeah, there was like a couple like log cabin venues and shit like that. Like we played one of them, but like when I was younger, like actually getting into metal, like I wasn't going to like metal local shows because I wasn't like in that scene, so I didn't know like what was happening. But I was constantly like mixed in, like my band was constantly in Battle of the Bands shows and all that shit. So there's a lot of rock, a lot of ska, and then there were like the crapcore metal band, like those metal bands.
Okay, yeah, that's what. Damn, that's crazy that you were like coming up in the time when the crabcore came around. Because for me, it's like I had found all my influential bands, and then crabcore came out, and I was like, this shit is whack as fuck, you know. But a lot of kids were really super influenced and inspired by that shit.
The funny thing was, like, I didn't like any of the bands. I was just relieved I was hearing like some form of metal that day. I was like, all right, here we go.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, that was like the only dose of like those bands I was getting at the time. But like I went, what was it? So like I joined like my first like actual metal band like when I was like 19, I think.
Okay.
And like they were a metalcore band, and like that, like I was stoked because I was like, okay, I'm actually playing with like good musicians. Like for the first time, I'm being like in a metal band, and like so that kind of had its time. And then after that, I jumped ship to Sentinels.
So how did you meet the guys in Sentinels?
We had played like a couple shows together, and like I had heard their first EP, and I thought it was bananas, and I was like, okay, these guys have caught my attention. And
was it like similar style, the first EP?
Similar style, like where it's like sporadic. It's very much like, you know, that band Structures, who like used to be on like Sumerian shit. Like we're like it's such a like an ironic name because their music like didn't seem to have much structure at the time. It was just maniacal and kind of going all over the place.
Okay.
So it was like still influenced by like Danza and like Structures and stuff like that. But like it sounds like it was kind of written by young kids because they were like 15, 16, 17 when they wrote that. So
yeah,
I heard that, and then what happened was I got a message on Facebook from Chris, and he was asking if I could fill in for some shows with Currents and them. And then it basically like trickled down from like a 10-day run to 4 days, and we only got to play 3 of them.
Yeah, that's a classic like first tour. Kind of thing.
Yeah, the first show, like none of us really like batted an eye at this, but like the first show it said skate park, so I'm thinking it's like one of those indoor skate parks that like throw shows, and I was like, that's fucking so sick.
Yeah.
And so we pull up, and it's an outdoor skate park, and we're like,
oh god.
What? It was like upstate New York, so we drove like 3 hours, got there, and then the kid's just like, so I don't really have any access to the power. I can see if I can get a generator. And we were like, and Currents was like, no, we can't do this. And then so the guy like still paid us for showing up, and then like we just like barbecued like on the grounds of the skate park and just had a good time instead.
That shit rules though. You know what I mean?
I know.
Like it's part of you, you know, you might be mad or whatever at the time, but looking back on it, it's like, wow, that's funny.
Yeah, there are so many great memories that I've built off of like the shittiest shows of all time. You know,
we used to play an outdoor skate park like on the regular.
I've only played an indoor
in Texas.
Oh really?
Yeah.
What was it called?
Funtown.
Dude, I've heard of Funtown.
Dude, Funtown used to go off.
You guys have talked about Funtown. I've only played inside in a skate park, but dude, I don't know if every skate park is like this, but there's really nowhere for a band to play. Like it was just in a very, very small spot, like right on top of a half pipe or some shit. I don't know skateboarding terms, but dude, it's like there's nowhere for us to play here.
There's actually a skate park that we used to play in. A lot of the venues were skate parks when Animosity was a band.
It's like skate parks and VFWs used to own the world.
We played this fucking skate park in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. That was like insane.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
That's sick.
I don't know what it was called, but
there was like a live video of the band Reflections. They did a tour. I don't know. I think it was like maybe like 2014 or something like that. And there was like a full set video of them. Like they were in the skate park, like playing like in like the flattest part like of the half pipe or whatever it's called. I don't skate. And Same. Like kids were just going off. Like they were sitting on the top of like the ramps, just like going crazy. Like kids are like knocking each other out. They're throwing shit across the venue. I'm like, oh my God. But like, it just seemed like such a fun like environment to play in. Cause like, you know, it's just so obscure. And I feel like there's something about that draws people to it.
Yeah, I agree. So is that like the kind of band that you guys were influenced by? Because to me, so I heard your band when we went on tour together, and I was like, okay, this band definitely listens to like they might be into Ion Dissonance and like Tony Danza, but
Into the Moat.
And Into the Moat.
But you guys never heard any of those
but you
bands.
guys had never heard of any of those bands.
we didn't know Into the Moat. I think Joe might have because he was the oldest and like he kind of like was into all that stuff. But like when Joe first joined, he introduced us to Ion Dissonance. Like I knew the name. I saw Anoop do a cover of it one time, and I was like,
Anoop,
that's what this band.
Anoop did a fucking Ion D cover.
Man, that's sick,
dude.
Yeah,
that's
it was
awesome.
the Scourge.
I gotta watch that.
Yeah,
it was ripping. So after that, I was like, okay, I gotta get into this band. And like Joe really drilled it into me. He's like, you have to get into this band. He's like, it makes no sense that you don't like dive into them. And like Danza, like Thomas and Chris were like both like obsessed with them. And then it was like Reflections and Structures. Like it was basically a melting pot of like all our favorite bands.
Yeah.
And then I got into them later.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that you guys, for me, are the first experience of like, I feel like an older generation because you guys, I feel, are a little more influenced by like bands that I used to listen to, like the bands that they created. And then you guys heard those bands maybe.
Dude, that's exactly what I was thinking.
So it's like
it kind of tripped me out when I heard you guys because I was like, dude, this is like, I'm not trying to undersell you guys because a lot of the bands sucked back then, but it's like if all the bands, what they were trying to do.
Yeah,
like
no,
if they had done it super sick.
in a really modern way.
The guitar player of Into the Moat was at the Florida show that we played. And I was
really?
like, dude, and you guys were playing 222. And I was like,
222.
Dude, you got to go watch this song, man. Because I was talking to him outside, and I was like, this band is like you guys, but if you guys were sick.
Yeah. But it's totally true. I mean,
I was like, you got to go watch this, dude.
No,
like,
Naveen would do that, no joke, like every time our friends came to a show on that tour. Because 222 is the song with the sick tempo change,
at the very end. And
the twist,
every time, because we'd all be hanging out and stuff, and that song would come on, and I'd be like, you got to go watch this song.
Yeah.
It's
he would
so
always
sick.
make everyone come in for that part.
And I totally knocked it off, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the part that I've been telling you guys we ripped off for our new album.
There's actually 2 parts on the new album that are direct Sentinels ripoffs.
Yeah, you guys blew Naveen's mind. I mean,
can I tell you, I'm honored. Like, that's awesome. Like,
that's
seriously.
Nice,
well, just don't be mad at us when you hear our record and you're like, all right,
I don't give a fuck.
I mean, I'm calling it a knockoff,
awesome.
but
we're telling you straight up.
When you hear it, you're gonna be like, you would probably think like, oh, that doesn't even sound like us at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in my head, I'm like, okay, it influenced that.
It's officially called the Sentinels part.
Yeah, it's
That's
just
how
like
we have it.
fucking like you think it's coming in one way, and then it's just nope, boom, it just goes like a different time signature, and it's like it's just the sickest thing.
Which
ever.
I think, you guys are very good at that. Who is like the person who writes most of Sentinel's music?
For like a long time, it was like very much like a mix mash of Thomas and Chris, and then like over time Chris started like taking more of the reins of like of becoming the main composer. Like there's like it's still a little bit of a mix mash on sound, but it was more so Chris. But like this new record is pretty much like all Chris. Like there's a lot of it was basically all his compositions, but then Thomas like had like a couple riffs in there and whatnot. But then like it was me kind of like just trying to like talk like structuring things a little bit, like this part's cool, like this has to come back, I hear something in it. And then Danny's like the quiet one, like on his phone in the background, and then he just pops in, he's like, yo, what if we just like kind of flip that here, and we're like, what the fuck, dude, that's awesome. Like he's like the silent genius in the room. I don't get it, but when he does talk, I'm like Danny's talking.
Everyone
like, what has he got?
That's good.
So good. So it's definitely Chris has taken like a big front seat, and I'm stoked because the stuff that he's writing, it's the most like generic thing to say, but it definitely is the most like mature stuff we've had so far.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that like this is what our first full length record is gonna be.
And it's the first thing that's on a label, right? I mean, you guys weren't on a label.
Yeah.
But
We were on another label for Unsound, but like that like dissolved. So but yeah, so like now like we're on like the label that we've like wanted to be on and like release things through, because it just felt like the most fitting and appropriate for us. So like
that's good.
It couldn't have worked out better.
I think that's what it's all about when it comes down to like being on a label, because there's the struggle nowadays of like, do we stay an independent band? Do we release stuff on a label if we have the option? But I do think that it's most important if you really feel like that's the label that your band stuff fits on, and like you can see yourself touring with all of those bands, and you really feel like the team behind you is strong, then I would say like sign to a label.
Yeah, it's gonna wait.
Absolutely. And I mean, because we're like not in a position, like we're not like money bags over here, like able to like fund like the records that we want to be able to create. So like having Sharp Tone like with us, like they can help us with that, and they also believe in us, like as weird as our shit may be, like compared to everything else on their label, but they heard it, and they believed in us, and it couldn't have worked out better. So I'm like, cool, this material that's coming out like is actually like, I think it's the most mature and structured stuff. And I think that's something that they would want to hear from us. Because if we gave them our first record, I wouldn't be surprised if they like chucked it. So it's like,
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
We've come a long way.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I know what you mean though. It's like I was saying earlier, it's like you're always going to prefer what you just did. But I also, I see your guys' band as being like you have a thing. Like you've got it together in the way that a band who a label would pick up normally would. Like your other stuff sounds unified to me. It doesn't sound mismatched or any. Yeah. So
definitely. And I'm also just like proud that you guys, like when I first heard you guys, I was like, yes, they're just doing something way sick and not concerned with like the
what's
current
popular
like, trend,
right now.
You know? And like it's so hard to get away from that these days. You know, it's like everyone's kind of going for like, I don't know, just trying to bank on someone else's thing.
Well,
like it's cool when the one who does it and they blow up, you know, like Periphery or whatever. It's like they're fucking amazing, you know. Do I want to hear 10,000 Periphery knockoffs? No, I don't.
And I do wonder if
and
that's
it's just cool when bands are like, "Hey, we're gonna fucking do our thing."
Yeah,
you know?
It's almost like the internet has brought along like a shitload of clones, but there are still bands that stick out from the pack.
Yeah,
and
I just. Like,
I feel like you guys are one of those.
When
bands.
I heard you guys, I was like, dang, that's so cool. They're just like fucking. I remember saying one day to you guys, like, why do you guys play this kind of music? You know?
Yeah, and I was like, I was more so taking it like, what do you mean? Like they just play music, man?
Yeah.
And you're like, no, like, because this is like old school shit. And I was like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, he's got a point.
It's like it's just really cool. I don't know, and like it's just so for me, I don't see that very often, you know. And it's like, I don't know, it's a bummer for me. Because I always do whatever I want, you know, and
exactly, yeah.
For good or bad, that might be a downfall of mine. But it's just cool when I meet other people who are just like, "Hey, we're doing our thing." Like I don't fucking care what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, like we make the music that we want to hear. Because like the probably the biggest thing that we get told a lot is like, you guys sound like all of my band or all of my favorite bands who are no longer around put into one.
It's seriously like that.
It is like
and
that.
I'm like,
really
holy shit.
Yeah.
Like. I appreciate it. So like when people are like, this band's not around anymore, you've replaced them. I'm like, dude, thank you. Like that's all I could ever hope for is that like people like our band that much to where it's like you've replaced a sentimental band for us or something to where it's just like you're part of my daily listening now, which is like, that was always something I strived for. And like, that's always going to be the goal. It's like, I don't need anything more than that. It's just to know that people listen, they like and care what we make, you know?
Totally. I feel like, a lot of times nowadays people get caught up very much in like, how can we market ourselves? What genre can we like specifically put ourselves in? Do we sound exactly like this band? And I think that the internet has like homogenized, is that the word that is that the right word? Homogenized like bands for a large degree. And it is kind of scary to like venture out on your own. And not necessarily do exactly what other people are doing. So
and it's not an easy road to take.
No,
you know?
it really
I'm
isn't.
saying that from experience right here, straight up.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, but it can be the best, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like if you just stick to it and do your thing, and it does catch on or whatever, like you're gonna be way better along than if you're like a watered down version of some other band,
right?
You know. And that's how I've always been. It's like, dude, it would be super sick if the type of stuff that I played was like the blowing up trend or whatever. But it's like, if it's not, I'm not going to change what I want to play. You know?
Because you do it for you when you don't do it to like rake in money or you know, any other purpose. It's like, I make music because it's what I enjoy doing. So why would I do it in a way that's not enjoyable?
Totally.
Like, that's always been the thing for me is like, you know, when I was in like previous bands, like they were always just trying to write like the next big thing, or like what kids could engage with the most, or what could be most popular or get radio play or something like that. And that always bugged me because I'm like, dude, I just want to rip drums. I want to play fast stuff. I want to play hard. And here we are with a pop chorus and a prog rock song. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, it was dreadful for me. And like, whenever I like come across like those old songs in my iTunes, and I'll listen to it for a second and be like, kids. Like, that's the only thing I can say with it is just kids. Like, but you know, now like, especially like being in Sentinels, where I'm like, this is the most off the wall band I've been a part of. It is the band I want to be a part of. And I was like, we're just going to do our thing, but we're going to try to like evolve a little bit more every time. And not so much in the sense of like evolving to like being on the radio. Like if we got on like Sirius XM, that's me getting to the radio. And I love that. Like that would be cool. Like that high octane.
And we're the same way. It's like, we don't not want people to like it. And we don't not want to be a big band and all that stuff for sure. But we're not going to copy someone else just to get. Or sacrifice
like our own.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
You know, we just, I don't know.
It's like where you're at, you know, you're just going to do your thing. And if it works out, cool. And if not, but that's why I just like I said, that's why I have like a lot of respect for you guys for sure.
Thank you, man. I feel like we're both in that same like middle ground where we're like, we're not going to sell out, or like we would love it if people made wow, I can't speak. we would love it if we could, you know, be popular like that. But at the same time, we're not going to sell out to get there. We're just happy to be like where we're at, where it's like people are usually like either on, you know, either side of the spectrum. Yeah. And like, so that's what I admire about you guys is like, you guys always do write exactly what you want. And like, there is that evolution every time. Cause like, I can still go back and listen to that first EP you guys put out, and like it rips. I love it. Thanks, and then man. I love the most recent single. Like everything is good.
Thanks, man. I wonder if you'll like the song that we just finished today.
Dude, there's a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah, we've put a full blown like. It's a grunge song. It's like a grunge metal song.
It's real weird, man.
There is singing on our new record. Like it's
shit.
I mean, I've always said that. Like I've always said throughout the course of our band that someday I'm gonna sing on a record, and this is the record we're doing.
And we have tried it out a bunch of times here and there, but it's never been right. And because like we want everything that we do to be like dark and evil, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like I think finally we nailed it, where it's like, okay, this is still like pretty dark and evil, and it's got some singing, but it's more like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like folk metal or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like we are doing it on our own terms. You know, I'm very influenced. I personally listen to a lot of stuff that's in the more like doom and range.
Yeah, it's like that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, you know.
I'm stoked for, I can't wait to show people what we've been working on.
Yeah, same.
I can't wait to hear it, honestly. Like, I love when bands can like throw in like extreme death metal in one end and then like throw out something different like that, where it's like that deep cut where there's like singing and like grunge or whatever you guys have done to it. Like I'm excited because, you know, this is like your first, like, I guess like independent release, so you guys can do whatever the fuck you want. So
I mean,
we'll see what happens.
We'll see if it's independent or not.
We'll see.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I mean,
if we get hollered at, might have to entertain some.
But might have to be entertained. But
gotta pay some bills around here.
So has your entire last year been focusing on this record? What have you been doing over the year that we have been off the road, you know, not doing shit?
It really was just focusing on this record and doing literally whatever we could throughout like the pandemic, because, you know, we were like in the studio, like getting ready to do this, and then, you know, parted with Joe, and then
am I allowed to so he just like couldn't tour? Is that really what?
Yeah, I mean, he made a statement on Facebook, so like I feel like in respect to him, like I don't want to say any more than like what he's willing to say publicly, but it was just one of those things where he had to like handle like a personal thing in life, and it prevented him from fulfilling duties. So we're like, okay, the best thing to do for us to just be find someone else, and he was totally cool with it, and he's been awesome about it like throughout, because you know, we've been great friends, and like we didn't want to lose him as a friend, so we're still close. And you know, and when he heard the record, he was like, this is like he had nothing but good things to say about it. And and I'm glad he dug it. So like it was, you know, after that happened, it was really just, okay, let's really take the time and perfect the record. And like now that we don't have as much of a time constraint, like we can spend a little bit more time like working on little details and all that stuff. And so like then when it came to finding Josh, like we were just searching, and then I hit up my friend JT from Era. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He was friends with Josh, and he just he recommended him. He was like, dude, 100%. Sent me his Instagram. I saw his covers and stuff, and we were like, this is the guy. So it was just all a matter of like making sure he was with it. And luckily he was like the guy who always wanted to be in a band and has worked his entire life for it, but the right opportunity never came. So it just like fell into our laps pretty much. It was like perfect. And so it was just a lot of back and forth, you know, with finishing the record when we could, and then shooting videos and pretty much like anything we could. But it was like spanned out like over months and months and months. So it was a lot of like waiting and like just working. And
so you guys had to like bring him out to Jersey to do vocals, or did you do it remotely?
Yeah. We brought him out because like we wanted to like get to know him and like, you know, invite him in the space. And because, you know, we were working with the producer, we didn't want to just like have him free ball vocals and just send him over. Like we wanted to like have everything processed right, but not like, you know, like processing like people will probably think like, oh, he needs work done in the studio, but like no, like the way that vocal treatment needs to be done properly.
Right.
And Randy, like our producer, was like, he's a genius. So like I wanted him
what's
to
Randy's
like,
last name?
LaBeouf.
Okay.
And so he worked with Josh, like, and funny enough, like Randy, he was hesitant, like, or he was like, I guess a little nervous to like work with Josh because, you know, Josh was never like really in a band or as of recent. So he was like, I hope this guy's good, man. Like I know what you guys are going through.
Yeah.
And then like he knocked out like the intro track on our record in like 30 minutes, and we were like, what the fuck? And like,
well, he probably showed up like he's hungry.
Yeah,
for
he's
it,
trying
right?
to show you guys his
to,
real shit.
He's probably nervous and shit.
He showed up on no sleep, like no food in his stomach. Like he just like, dude, just give me 2 hours to like rest, and I'm going for it. But like, I'll see what I can do today. And
how
like, it was, like,
how
30,
old is
30
this
minutes.
kid?
He's 27. He's my age.
Oh, okay. So he's not even a fucking kid. He's a grown man, and he knows his shit. Man. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. He carries his shit. He's awesome.
Yeah.
So like he busts out like the first two lines, and like Randy's just sitting there. He takes off the headphones. He's like, "What the fuck?" Like loved it, and because he just went from like being like nervous to being like, "Oh, I'm fully confident."
Yeah.
And like when, you know, we had to have the talks like with our managers, like with Randy, he's like, all right, how's he doing? Like, is he good? And he's like, Randy basically said like, you have nothing to worry about. He's like, this guy's a dream to work with, and they're set. So good, that was relief. So it was a lot of just trying to make the record happen, perfect the mixes, and then, you know, get like the behind the scenes stuff going.
Yeah.
And
it sounds great. It sounds great. I was listening to it in our little studio room, like on my monitors and stuff. And I was like, dang.
Yeah, we're comparing mixes to make sure that ours sounds better. I'm just fucking with you.
Please.
We're like, all right, crank that up. I'm just kidding.
Well, when it hits that breakdown at the end, you know, and you're doing your little like
your little Dave thing,
you know, just doing all those little fills, it's like so sick, man.
Thank you.
I mean, you know, I wasn't, but I think that every band is kind of defined by their drummer. Like, the drummer live and on record 50%. Really determines how good the band is, and your band just so happens to have a really good drummer.
Yeah.
So
50%.
Yeah, thank you.
It's like, but I mean, dude, if you sucked live as a drummer, I wouldn't like you guys.
No,
you know,
I don't blame you.
You know,
it'd be horrible.
It like really takes a good drummer and a good backbone to make a fucking sick band, and that's why,
especially in metal.
Especially in metal, you know, you can hear those popcorn feet. You can hear just like, there's a lot of shit that turns me off to metal drumming, but you are a really, really sick drummer. You're a solid ass backbone, and you have your own flavor. And it's one of the things that I really, really like about your band.
It's good. Don't lose that.
Thank you.
Yeah, don't lose it.
Your man was an influence of mine, so
there you
thank him.
There you go.
No, but thank you. I really do appreciate that. I mean, and luckily, the whole popcorn feed, I got to work out those kinks on tours before we toured with you guys. It was like the trigger thing was like rough to get used to at first, but holy shit.
Oh yeah. Did you not used to play with triggers?
No, I didn't. And then it was like our first like legit like full US tours when I was like, okay, I want to incorporate. I want that clarity in our kicks, because like there's fast spurts. And
I know there's nothing like it, man. There's nothing like it. I will say.
It's a lot of fun.
It's heavy with the triggers.
Yeah, man. But and when it came to like the mix for the record, we just wanted like we were like, all right, so we still want that like the tone of Unsound, but we just want it to be like bigger. We just want it to hit harder.
Yeah.
And luckily we had all that time in the world to sit there and like really nail it. So when we got it back, we were like, this is it.
Yeah, it sounds really
it just felt good.
Man.
It does sound good.
Your boy does really good. Is he from New Jersey?
Yeah. He's based out of here. He's at Graphic Nature in Belleville.
Is that how you guys met him? He's just like a homie.
Randy?
Yeah.
No, we got hooked up with him through Scott, our manager. So
Scott
Lee.
Oh,
really? He's your manager?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
I like that guy. I love that guy. That guy's sick.
Yeah, he's the man. Like him and Josh Bulgarin are our managers. So we worked with him on Unsound, and then the way that happened was we wanted to kind of somewhat stay local, and we always had thought about like recording there. We just loved the work that came out of there, and so when they told us we were like, yeah, we're gonna hook you guys up with Randy LaBeouf, we were like, okay, I'm a little nervous because he mainly did like a lot of like down tempo bands, like bands like Kubla Khan and
okay,
like Left Behind and stuff like that. So we're like, okay, we're very different, but we knew he worked with Reflections and Invent Animate, who were a little bit closer to what we were doing. And so we were like nervous, but he would like pull out the guitar to like show us examples of what we were doing, but like in a more correct way. And he would like just rip like those dissonant leads and crazy shit. We were okay, yeah, he's the guy. Like he gets it. And he's a Berkeley College graduate. Like he knows his shit. He's very, very, very gifted. And
so he is like full on producing you guys. Like he's got a say in riffs and things like that.
Yeah, like we do pre-production with him, and like he'll comb through and like he'll give us his notes and stuff like that. If something like sucks to him, like we'll talk about how we can make it better or just scrap it and put something else. So like we spent like a decent amount of time doing pre-production. And the funny thing was, because after working with him last time and going in this time, we thought our pre-pro was like perfect. We thought there was nothing that was going to be touched. Like we were like,
right.
We got this. We learned from last time, and we went in there and there were like more notes than last time. We were like, no. So we were just like, damn, our record is compromised. But then now I listen back to the pre-pro and like I like giggle at some shit. I'm like, oh wow, I can't believe we thought that was all like perfect.
Totally.
Well, that's
so,
great about having a guy like that.
Yeah.
Because you are kind of blind, and it's good to have that like outside perspective, just to kind of
you're just like in that bubble, like listening
to
it all the time, and you're just like, damn, like I'm stoked that this is like my band, and like I can't imagine this any differently.
Yeah.
And then you spend like however many months with a producer, especially more than scheduled, and then it comes out a certain way, and you're like, dude, this is my record. Holy shit. Like it feels that good. And like that was something that I never really felt before until we started working with Randy. And it was just such a waking up moment where I was like, I refuse to do a record without a producer, especially like Randy. Like he's our man.
Well, you get so caught up, right? Because like I'll do it too. I'm all emotional and like, oh God, I don't know what's going on with this part. It's cool to just have someone who's just like, yeah, that sucks. You need to just do this. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, for sure. And I learned so much about that. Like when I did the Whitechapel album, like going out with Mark Lewis,
Yeah.
Like, cause I'd have like all, just, that was just me doing drums with him and he's kind of producing the drums a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd be like, yeah, I had this crazy idea, for this one part. And he's like, yeah, let's just hear you like kind of just do like a beat over the part, and it's like every time he was right. You know what I mean? Like every time it was like, all right, let's try it both. Cause his tactic is like, all right, why don't we just try it both ways? You know, we'll do it my way and we'll do it your way. And then we'll come in here and we'll listen to it and we'll see which one is sicker, you know? And it's like every time it'd be like, all right, his way is like way sicker, you know? And it's about Mark.
Oh, with Mark Lewis.
Just like tracking drums with Whitechapel and like how Mark would just be like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Why don't we just hear it with like just like a quarter note on the ride, you know, just hear it like solid, you know? And I'd be like, all right. And then you listen to it and you're like, he's kind of right. That sounds way sick, you know?
Dude, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and like at the end of it, you're like, well, it's not technically my record, so I mean, like, you know, if the producer's saying so, and you're like, all right, it must be for the best, and then you go back and listen to it, and you're like, all right, now.
See, that was the thing. Yeah. That was the thing. If it had have been my own band, I would have been real like, fuck this guy. He can't tell me what the fuck to do. But since it was Whitechapel, I was just like, hey, they already have a sound. They already work with Mark. Like, it's not my place to sit in here and argue. It's just like, hey, I thought of this cool idea. If you want to use it, that's cool. You know what I mean? And I was way more neutral because there was no plan of me joining the band.
Though I think that experience for you changed our band
Dude, it changed
in a great way because
me,
it's like, I don't think that Naveen realized the importance of vocals until you worked on the Whitechapel record.
Because I would do a fill and he'd be like, hold on a second. And he'd like pull up the vocal like demo or whatever and be like, yeah, it doesn't work with the vocals.
Because our
I'm
band,
like, dang, that's legit.
Our band has always been really guilty of that as well. Like when you were talking about earlier, like with Joe, you felt that the vocals were always kind of an afterthought. We've felt like that in a majority of our songs. And I think it's because all of the members of our band you and Evan came from having solo projects.
Yeah.
Where it was like, okay, the
totally
drums
crazy.
or the bass have to fucking rip this whole time. Otherwise people aren't going to stay interested. But for a band that's vocal based, it's a much different thing. Like you have to set up the songs so that the vocals can carry them.
Yeah. And the last single is the first time that we ever really were like, all right, let's make the vocals like the focal point.
Yeah.
Focal point, I guess you could call it.
The vocal point.
You know, and I kind of from going to Mark, like I kind of realized that. And like everyone in the band was on board with it. And I was like, dang, this is something sick right here.
Yeah.
You know, everyone would be like, well, you know, of course my little idea of doing like an extra solo or whatever is like cool, but everybody was always like doing what was best for like the overall.
Yeah, which is
really
important when you're in a band.
It really got me thinking.
Yeah, man.
And sometimes you don't think about it at first.
I mean, of course not.
Then you break it down like slowly and like you go by part, and you're like, okay. You're like still a little disappointed, but it makes sense at the end of the day.
Exactly.
It makes everything better. Because, dude, like the thing that really kicked my ass with Randy, and also because Unsound was the first thing that didn't have programmed drums. Like Unsound and this record is like live drums. Everything before it was programmed. So like Randy, like during pre-pro, like even after pre-pro, like we got all the song structures down. We were happy, and then he was like, "All right, now you and I are gonna sit through and completely humanize this MIDI because when you're tracking, I want to compare it to the MIDI and make sure that it's what we like had discussed and what had worked on."
Yeah.
So it's like not only I'm not like only having to be on the click. I'm having to match like I'm basically having to play like Guitar Hero drums in a sense. Like it was such an experience, and it made me like really go through and like for this record, this was the first time I actually sat with the MIDI, got the programs, and like really took my time and like went over songs like 20 something times each. And then even in the studio went over them more and just made them that much better. Yeah. And like I think overall it made the drum performance that much better and something I'm more proud of because like everything just works and everything's done for a reason on there.
Yeah.
And then I accented the vocals off of the drums. So I was like, it makes sense that I'm writing this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not only do I have a world of shit to talk about and say and like scream about, I like it makes sense because it's the other like rhythmic instrument, like in a sense, because that's essentially what the vocals are. They're a rhythmic instrument.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
So I mean, it all worked out.
Depending on the style of vocals that you use, it's like, what's the name of your vocalist again? Sorry, I forgot. Yeah, Josh. So he's got like a kind of like a mid-range, like hardcore type thing is what I call it. Like, you know, the Ghost Inside and those type of like, it's not quite hardcore. It's not quite metal. I guess it's metalcore type vocals.
Yeah.
And those, and some of those can be very like, they're rhythmic, but some can be very melodic. It's like, if you look at Architects or a band that uses like more pitched, they can turn melodic, but for a large part, like the hardcore type of vocals, they are very rhythmic, and all of that really matters, and it can bring like a cool new rhythmic layer to the music.
Exactly. And that was something I loved so much, is like how he applied like his vocal style and how it worked so well with the music we were writing.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, he was able to like sit there and figure out the right pitch for each section.
Yeah.
And like I had told him like what I had in mind when I was writing it, and like, you know, sending him like the whisper scream, like talk tracks and stuff like that,
totally.
because talk tracks are just too hard to listen to. It's like laughable. So like I had to sit there and be like, like to talk out these rhythms and send to him. And so, but like when he would perform parts, I would sit with him and I'd be like, I'm thinking something like a little higher for here, a little higher range. And he would like literally sit there and like sing out notes and like then scream like in that pitch. And I'm like,
yeah,
fuck yeah. Like I've never seen someone be so like in depth with like taking like this strong mid range to like mid low range or whatever. And like, but like working the full spectrum in there.
Yeah.
Like,
I love
where
that.
It's not just, like there's all these different variations. And I was like, the fact that the majority of people won't understand that,
I know. Yeah.
kills me.
I know it bothers. I mean, dude, it bothers me too. The lack of understanding of screaming as an instrument always bothers me. And there's way more than a low or a high vocal. There's way more than like a guttural, a tunnel. There's also pitched screaming. You know, Gojira is like a very perfect example of where pitched screaming can go.
So good.
And there are also voices like, you know, if you get into the like Linkin Park, Chester Bennington type scream or the Marilyn Manson type scream, those are different than death metal or than Gojira. Or, they're all different types of tonalities and types of screaming. And I think it's something that's really cool that can be utilized, but it does suck that a lot of people don't really understand, you know?
Yeah. Because like I see some comments on there and like normally it would bum me out, but I'm just like, they don't know the bigger picture.
Well, yeah,
so
of course.
Fuck it. And like, because when I heard like the final track on our record, which is like the most melodic thing that we've ever done, and like when I heard his vocals, like everything mixed and mastered, and like with the lyrics and everything I proposed, like what we had worked on together, like I like legit cried. I was like, this is the most beautiful shit that I've ever been a part of. I'm like, this is a proud moment right here. So like I can't wait for people to hear that.
Yeah,
and I hope they like hear the difference in like the dynamics with his range. I was like, this is it. So I hope that like it translates well with people.
It will translate well with me. That's for sure.
Absolutely,
so when we're jamming the vinyl, you know.
Hell yeah, because so much shit went into it. So I'm like, just finally having that first piece out is like the biggest weight off our shoulders.
Yeah,
It's
I bet.
insane.
Man. I bet.
Honestly, once you get that first song out,
the Band-Aid has
all
been
right,
ripped.
Cool, like we're good. We're good to go here.
Totally.
Yeah, I'm like, we can relax and talk about shit now. This is cool.
Yeah,
it's like holding back everything is the worst.
I know, man. So I wanted to ask you about your podcast. What's up with it? Are you still doing the podcast? You started it. It's called the 6 Stroke Podcast. Are you only having drummers on it, or are you?
That's kind of how it is like right now. I don't want it to be that way the whole time. I do like having drummers who are also multi-instrumentalists, like you yourself. Yeah. And like
so
we talked like pretty extensively about, you know, how you were performing everything on the new record and shit. Yeah. And then, you know, but like, it's not going to be that way all the time. I think that's just how I had to start it off because it was what I could talk to people about. But like
for sure.
a couple other guests like that I have like on the list to come are like people I've toured with who are, you know, either the guitar player, the singer, or just whoever I kind of found myself the most close with.
Yeah.
But, you know, I do take extensive breaks on it. I can't unfortunately stick to a schedule since everyone's schedule and mine like conflict sometimes. Yeah. And like just trying to make it work and trying to find the motivation sometimes with everything that goes on it gets tough. But
so that's what's sick about having another person to do it with. It's like, all right, well, if I'm not feeling it, Shaney's like, we got to do it. And if she's not feeling it, I'm like, no, we're not. We have to do it.
Because believe me, there are times like that. Yeah. Because, dude, we aren't like we're podcasters now, like we're well into it, but we're musicians first and foremost. And it's like, honestly, especially lately, because we've been working so diligently on the album, and that's like all that, like we were working on our album until I think 30 minutes before we got on this podcast with you.
We were like, fuck, it's 4:30.
Yeah.
We gotta
so
get
we're
on the
sorry for being late, man, but we were, you know,
good.
it's hard when you're like on that, in that mindset to like switch it over to like, okay, now we're going to talk to our homie and we're going to like hang out
it's like,
and
all right,
stuff.
I got to go run to the store real quick and grab a couple beers, like fucking get in the mindset.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right.
So it is a whole ordeal to like, you know, this isn't the only thing that any of us do. So it's hard to like set a schedule and do it all the time and be like, okay. And you, I think that you've been doing most of your episodes based on guests as well, right? So that's a whole extra element.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it's trying to get like something that is entertaining and worth listening to, but also at the same time still doing it for the fact that it's simply for my own pleasure. It's just talking to friends and just trying to find the time and motivation to make it happen. Cause you know, with everything going on in the world, sometimes it's so hard to get, or it's so easy to get discouraged and like just put things aside.
Totally.
But like, so now it's almost becoming like a once a month episode.
Yeah.
And so like now that like I can finally talk about the things that I wanted to talk about, I was like, okay, now I can actually pull off a solo episode and like I can actually bring in my bandmates and talk to them now.
Absolutely.
And like that's what I want to do. I just need to kind of plan it out like a little bit better and have like things be more strategically organized in that sense. But
it's fucking hard to do, man.
It is hard.
It's hard to do.
But dude, you're good at podcasting.
Yeah, you're good at
I listened to the podcast with you and Naveen, and I was like, fuck, Dave is good at podcasting. And dude, that's one of the things that you and I first bonded over, is that we're both fans of Your Mom's House. We fucking are into the comedy scene and shit. And that whole aspect of podcasting is so fucking cool to me. And it takes like a person with a personality to be able to do it, you know, like not everyone can do it, but you are good at podcasting. So,
thank you.
You know, you got to keep that.
It's just one of those things where I'm like I can go on for hours and hours and just talk to people about whatever, and then I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, what if we had microphones on us right now?
I know.
Like, this could be like something entertaining.
Totally.
And like I had like a conversation like with my friend Matt, who plays drums for Currents, and we were talking about something like really in depth about drums, and it was like becoming like almost a mental thing. And I was like, dude, can we like have this conversation again, like in a couple months or something like that, like on the podcast? Cause I'm like, this is like perfect. And I think people need to hear this. It's like those things where like you have those personal conversations, but you're like, I think this could be beneficial to the public, because
it is
like these people think that like we perform perfectly all the time or something. And I'm like, no, I was like, sometimes we are in our heads so fucking hard.
Totally.
And like we also have those anxieties and stuff like that. I was like, this whole record for me was like anxiety. So like the fact that we were able to pull it off somehow is like crazy.
Yeah.
So like to talk about that in depth, like and put that on a podcast, I feel like that's stuff that is like worth value or some shit, you know?
I absolutely agree with you.
Like for us, that's been the thing. Like people have said, oh, it's so cool to hear you guys kind of just talk candidly about
real
the
people,
music stuff or whatever. And now we're like, you know, the world sucks. We're out here like working and it's just like normal.
Do you work? What do you do? What do you do for a living?
I work for my uncle's solar company. I work in the design team, like basically revising and correcting plan sets before they go out to installation.
All right, say that again, because you act like it's so boring, but to me it's really interesting. And say it again.
I think it's just because I've been doing it for like.
Yeah, you're like, I don't fucking know. I like organized plant sets. I
feel them, dude. It's like,
I feel you too.
Sucks.
None of us want to talk about, but it actually is interesting. So.
Yeah, it's also because my voice is like hoarse, so I feel it running out, and I'm like,
it's like I don't know. I run.
Yeah, but it's cool. I mean, people at work, they trust me to like fix and make things like better for the overall installation for the company, and like
for solar panels.
Yeah. Sick. And like it's honestly like fun. It's a pretty creative job. Like I can get creative with things, and like I can say, you know, this will work, this won't work. Like, you know, people come to me for their problems. They trust me. So that always feels good.
Yeah, it's the same. Cool. You've got like a similar life to mine.
Yeah.
It's weird.
We're like mirror image, bro.
Yeah, and I am the same way, and it's like it's cool for sure. But recently I've been like switching down to where I only work like 3 to 4 days a week.
Nice.
And before I was like, kind of tripping about money and this, that, and the other thing, and then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna work 3 to 4 days a week, and I don't care what happens. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, if I lose whatever certain comforts in my life, or I can't afford this, that, or the other thing, then that's cool. Because I need a little bit more time to do my music stuff. And dude, it's been fucking fine. I haven't been tripping about money or anything. It's been totally great, and like, it's a good move. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the perfect balance. If you can work your job, and like your job allows you to do what's important to you, then like you're set, man. Like to me that's success in a way.
And I kind of went like on my own. I was working for, well, I don't know how personal I want to get with this, but I was working for my dad's company, and I kind of went and started doing my own thing. And now I'm able to like totally create my own schedule, and it's like, it's sick.
That's like,
it's way better
right there.
Yeah, it's
That's
way
awesome,
better, man. I'm really lucky right now. I got a good thing going on for sure. But I was thinking, man, like, because we were talking about these podcasts and stuff, like this whole podcast, I've been thinking to myself, like, it's so sick to have this podcast, because this is like the time when I just chill and like drink beer and talk to friends.
It's true.
Stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, it rules.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Exactly. Because I mean, like, think about it. Like, would we just probably call each other normally, like on a weekly basis, to just like talk about this stuff? Probably not.
Probably not.
To have this,
which is shot. I mean, that's shot.
It is
that we wouldn't do that.
But it is cool. It's like everyone that we ask to do this podcast. People will like recommend people for us to have on the podcast and stuff. But for us, it's always worked the best when it's like our friends.
It's always been somewhat of a friend, I guess. So for the most part. Yeah,
it's always been a friend. So it's just a good way to fucking catch up with people and say, hey man, what have you been up to? And see everyone face to face, because it's, as much as you want to say that you would like FaceTime everyone on a weekly basis, it's just never going to happen.
And if we did FaceTime, am I going to be like, all right, dude, I need all the details?
Yeah, like asking you all the questions of your entire life.
I need exactly what it was like.
Tell me
the whole recording. It's not going to happen.
All right, why is Joe not in your band anymore?
It's
like, it doesn't matter.
Here's the tea. Yeah, like,
I don't. Yeah, it's like I just care about you as a person and that stuff. But all of the other extra stuff comes along with the podcast, and it's cool to learn about people.
It's fun to like make one long, like big, like catch up session about it.
It's
like,
totally true.
That's really the best part, and like the hardest thing I think sometimes is like for me, like when people will hit me up or something, and it's not like it's happening all the time, so I'm not trying to sound like a hot shot here, but it's like every now and then someone will hit me up and be like, really big fan of your podcast, man, would love to be a guest sometime. And it's somebody I don't know or never talked to, and I'm just like, hey man, thanks for checking it out.
Thanks for the support, bro.
Really appreciate it. Thanks for the support, bro. Like, kind of have to ignore that second part of the question where I'm like, what do we talk about?
Yeah,
like, it really is a thing for me to manage and make for like personal, friendly conversations.
Absolutely.
I have to say, I like kind of weaseled my way onto your podcast. You didn't even know. I did some mental jujitsu on you.
Yeah, he was like, "Why the fuck isn't Dave?"
Because you were like, he was podcast? Like, you're like, "Yeah, I made a podcast," and I was like,
Naveen was all sad.
I was like, "All right, how come he hasn't asked me to be on it? What the fuck?" And then you posted about it, and I was like, "Oh, it's pretty cool, man, that you started a podcast."
Dude, you totally got me. Oh my! Because the funny thing was, I was like preparing to ask you too, and I was like, "Dude, how funny would it be to just have like my local band, like local band friends, and be like, hey, here's my buddy Naveen. Like, you guys all know him, and he's sick. Like, here it is." People will be like, "Oh wow, he has legit drummers on there."
And I was like, "Oh, it's cool. You started a podcast, man." Dang.
Why aren't you asking your boy Naveen?
Yeah, like, because we're kind of like that. We're like embarrassed to like ask people to be on it, But on the other side, like, I think about that a lot. I think about how I'm like, well, how come he hasn't asked me to be on it?
Yeah, I know.
Like, because that was my initial response. Like I was like, oh, he started a podcast. Why didn't he ask me? He should immediately ask me to be on it.
You were like literally like number one on the list. I was like, I just got to see who I can like get at the right
well,
time.
Well, because there's all this
like,
mental shit
like,
where you're like, I don't know if he's gonna want to do the podcast.
Because I'm thinking, okay, I'm asking my friends to be on there, and they're gonna be like, oh well, Naveen's trying to like, you know, make money on me or whatever, like get over on me.
Yeah, because we make money.
But it's like from the like guest's point of view, it's like, dude, how come you don't ask me? What the fuck?
Yeah.
You know, and like, so I have to keep that in mind because sometimes, like I said, we're a little bit embarrassed to be like, hey, dude, would you do my podcast? You know, because it's like, I don't know, it sounds kind of corny coming out like, hey, dude, we do this podcast. You should be on it. That'd be cool. You know what I mean?
It's like, corny.
It sounds corny.
I feel that all the time. And funny enough, I felt something similar like that. Like when you guys, you're like, yo, recommend us some guests. I think, Chaney, you posted, you were like, recommend some guests. And then I was like, yo, like, what's up? And then you were like, would love to make this happen. And then you guys had that long hiatus. I was like, well, I guess I missed my chance. Fuck.
Damn, I know.
And then you hit me up again. I was like, all right, here we go.
You know what I feel bad about?
It's better now.
You know what I feel bad about? There were like probably 5 people I hit up before the hiatus that I have not hit up who were hella down to do the podcast who I haven't hit up since we came back, and they probably think that I hate them, but that's not really the case. It's just that I'm in the middle of writing an album and I'm so scatterbrained that I literally only in the last week have planned out our next month for the podcast, and usually it's week by week, but now it's I
it's
know
like
who
Tuesday,
we're having
Wednesday,
on for the
we're
next.
like, all right, we need to probably get again.
Yeah, it's like,
I mean, we're not always. I mean, our podcast wasn't even really meant to have guests in the beginning. You know what I mean?
I don't even know what our podcast was meant for.
It was just going to be me and Chaney like talking about random shit, but then it just kind of became kind of cool to have a guest.
Another thing is that people like you were saying that randoms will hit you up and be like, let me be a guest. And one thing about our podcast is that, like, when we started, we were having people come in real life and just hang out with us across the table. And when you don't necessarily know someone that well, that's an easy way to get to know them in real life. But over Zoom, it doesn't translate very well.
Yeah, it can be weird.
So, like,
I fully agree.
So, like, I've been super hesitant over Zoom to have anyone that we don't know. And so far, it's like we're asking good friends of ours because it's like, you know, if we're not in real life talking, it's harder to keep the conversation going for some reason.
Yeah.
I know it sounds weird, but it's like, it's hard to keep the conversation going if you don't really know a person. And a lot of people will come into the podcast thing and be expecting like a full-blown questionnaire experience where podcasting is different than interviewing.
We don't
in that way.
like interview. I mean, I guess we ask people stuff, but we're not like.
But it's literally things that come to our minds. Like, you know.
I've done some podcasts where I'll like get asked a question and then I'll like say the answer and then they'll like move on to the next question and I'm like, dude, we could have just rapped on that question for like a half hour. Yeah. Like what? Why are you moving on?
Out for you in an email.
Yeah. Like why are you moving on? Like let's talk about what. Because I'll say something and be like, it's kind of like a little seed, you know, like throw it out there and it's like. Dude,
you blew it.
I just threw that ball. You know, you missed the fucking.
You fucking blew it.
I just threw that thing, and what the fuck, man?
Straight. Whenever I have someone on mine, I just make like I have notes, but I just have like bullet points of like things I want to ask them, and then like we go off on it. Yeah. Not just like answer the question, and it's not like I'm looking at the notepad. Like, all right, cool, wrap it up. Like, I want to talk about this in depth, like, and go back and forth and make it a casual conversation. It's just that I don't forget these things. But yeah, like just interview-based podcasts are pretty lame. Like they're meant to be just a casual conversation.
I know. And I always thought that about like just back in the day, whenever like my band would get interviewed or whatever, I'm like, what's up with these people?
I know.
It's like, why are you asking me what I play?
Dude, I know. And it's like, for me, it's like, don't you guys realize that I've been asked what it's like to be a girl in a band for the last 13 years of my fucking life? Like, you can log on to the internet and just look up, what does KoperCrabb think it's like to be a girl in a band? And you could come up with an answer, you know? It's like very non-inventive questions that people are coming up with.
I'm sure after like the second or third time, you're like, I don't want to answer this ever again.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
it seems like so patronizing in the sense where it's like, God.
Well, it's also one of those questions where it's like, okay, well, I've never been a guy in a band, so I don't know the fucking difference between being a girl in a band and being a guy in a band because I've never like been a dude in a band, but it's one of those situations where it's like we're all in a band. And it's pretty much the same for everyone, except that we pee in a different way. You know, it's like I have to get out of the van more at night. I can't piss into like a jug of a water jug. So I have a harder time doing that. But it's a pretty shitty question. But, you know, it's just like interviews always tend to like, I don't know. It does kind of annoy me. We'll get interviews like every time we put stuff out, and it's like just the same 10 questions. And it's like,
what's your name?
Yeah.
What do you? It's like,
what do you play?
Just look at my
What's
Wikipedia.
your album about?
What can people expect from this release?
Right.
It's like
music.
It's more mature. We feel good about it. It's heavy. It's melodic.
And then like
everything Entheos is.
Yeah,
like,
you say all of those catchphrases. You know, like what's gonna get them?
Yeah, with like a corny question, it's like anything you say just sounds corny, you know?
Dude.
Like, okay.
Dude, like when I was a kid, I was like dying to do those interviews. And like now, if I ever get like those questions, I'm like, God, now I get it.
Well, when you were a kid, if you would have asked those questions when you were a kid as an interviewer, it would have been hella cute and people would have been, you know,
straight up.
down.
Yeah, like that was me like in that like frame of mind where I'm like, man, I hope people want to interview me one day.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's something to be said for that. If someone is interested in what you're doing, that's awesome.
I know.
For sure.
It is awesome.
I shouldn't be talking shit, but I don't know, I'm just saying, if you're going to do...
I'm not talking shit. I'm just saying if you are a professional interviewer, like, it is cool. There's this guy on the internet. He wears a hat and he like interviews all of these popular pop artists and shit, and he'll ask
the like the crazy like Red Nardwar.
Yeah, dude, and he'll ask them like all these questions that leave them being like, "How the fuck did this guy know that about me?"
And then he's got gifts.
Yeah, and he has gifts for them. Like he'll have a gift from when they were 12, and they'll be like, "What the fuck?" But that's cool. Yeah. That's like really creative interviewing, and we live in this time where everyone is trying to interview everyone. So it's kind of like bring something different or interesting to the table.
Absolutely. Like I always want like to like when someone does an interview, like I'm always hoping for like something out of the box that would make me be like, oh shit, like that's a good question. But like it usually is like the kind of cookie cutter question.
Well, so what would be an out of the box question that you would want to be asked, and then answer it because
do an interview for yourself.
Interview yourself.
See, and I'm bad at that.
No,
like,
you aren't bad at it though. I bet there's something
right?
personal that like you wish you would be asked, but no one has asked you.
Yeah, and like it'll probably happen years later when I forget about it, and then someone will ask me, and I'm like, "Holy shit! Like this is awesome! Like that's I don't know. I just want to be like semi mind blown in an interview at least once, or just to say like, damn, that's a great question.
Yeah. So do you know what it would be? What would you ask?
That's not going to happen today. So
what would you ask yourself? Here's a mind blowing question. Dave? What would you ask yourself if you're in an interview with yourself?
Damn.
Oh my God. Yeah, this is like being put on the spot, like hardcore.
All right, I'll think of it too. Let's see. I don't know. Naveen. I don't know. I'd have to get asked the question, right?
I know. It'd have to be.
Yeah, I really don't know. That's
all right, Chaney, what's your question?
Stumper.
What's your question?
I don't know.
So none of us know. It's a question that nobody can have the answer to.
It's a common thread all the way around.
What's the most like defining point in your life that made you choose doing metal over doing any other kind of music? Because I would say that this is a very hard road to follow.
I can name that easy. Dude.
What is it?
March 2001, dude. Dying Fetus Destroy the Opposition tour.
That's what made you
There's like 20
metal.
people there. I'm just like, I'm doing that. That's what I'm doing.
What about you, Dave? Was there like a moment where you were like, this is what I
had already listened to
do?
heavy music. Hold on a second. I'm not done.
Yeah, Naveen.
All right. I had already listened to heavy music. I was already like into hardcore and metal and like Slipknot, you name it. And then I found out about Dying Fetus, and I went to the fucking... Did you just do
a whip it?
I did not do a whip it, I swear to
God. Okay.
No, he's got a vape pen.
I'm a loser vaping. Let's not focus on that. People are going to flame me in the comments.
Dude, I just heard a noise, and I was like, this motherfucker is doing a whip it.
No,
maybe that's why his voice is fucked.
It could be. Dude, I kind of like, I don't even smoke, but I was like, damn, this vape thing seems pretty sick.
No, it doesn't, man.
So I got...
No offense, Dave.
I got a vape.
I know I suck.
I'm sure that your vape...
It.
No, I mean, you don't suck. Your vape, I'm sure it tastes like candy or birthday cake. Caramel. Are you a caramel guy?
No, I'm like a... right now, it's like raspberry lemonade with like the cool like feeling in it, like
okay.
Oh, mint.
like the ice thing.
Yeah. So
do you smoke weed?
I can't. It literally like knocks me out.
Yeah.
Whoa.
No matter what I go for. Like, do you remember when we were at NAMM and I hit you up? I was like, hey, I have a whole like leftover bag of like edibles. Do you want them? I can't take it.
Yeah.
Like I was like, because when we got to California. First thing in the morning, obviously, Chris and Danny are like hitting up the delivery service, like to like the motel we stayed at.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm like just waking up, and they're like, "Yo, Dave, it had to be a $50 minimum, so we got you some gummies, bro." And like edibles were like my favorite at the time. I had like the best experience of my life on just like
until you got to California, and then you're like, "Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. No thanks."
And yeah, so they got me like these 2 like Sour Patch watermelon like edibles. I was like, okay, that's sick. We see animals that night for free at the
middle
Thursday
section
or Friday. Yeah. And so I popped one like right before that, and it was like the best way I could have experienced animals for the first time ever. So I was like, all right, this is sick. And then I don't know what happened to the other one. Then they went to a dispensary, and then I asked her, like the girl, like specifically, I'm like, all right, I want something that is just chill. I don't want to feel like I'm gonna panic or I'm gonna freak out or anything like I need to get to a bed immediately. I just want to have like a nice time where I can be like managed, like pretty much a light buzz.
Yeah.
And so she was like, "This is exactly what you want," and gave it to me.
And she was wrong.
And dead fucking wrong. we get invited to the after show at Chain Reaction. It's Issues playing a free show at Chain Reaction. I was like, cool, we get to finally go to Chain Reaction and see Issues for free. Had one of those before the show, and halfway through the set, I am like freaking out, and and I was the one like with like my name on the rental vehicle. So I was like, guys, before this gets any worse, we have to go. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I was like, I'm not trusting you guys to drive.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I won't eat
when
weed.
It's so good.
I won't eat it.
Dude,
no,
edibles will fuck you. I
won't do it.
have 2. Okay, so one experience, I went to Denver.
Now, hold on a second. I've seen Cheney who can hold her own.
I am a stoner, like full blown stoner.
And
I smoke weed all day.
I'm like, I'm not doing that.
So
if that happens to her, if I take it, you're gonna throw me in a fucking mental asylum.
One time I was in Denver with my best friend, and we like had gone and seen Bass Nectar and shit. You know, we were just partying in Denver for a week. I went and stayed there with him, and we got a full blown brownie, like 100 milligram brownie. Before we left, and I ate it on my way to the airport. So I was walking through security, and I fucking blacked out and passed out in security. And I was lying on the ground, like passed the fuck out for like 20 seconds, and I could hear people around me. Luckily, my friend was with me, and she was like, "Oh God, Cheney, okay, we got to get her up." And I could hear people around me like, "What's wrong with her? What's going on? Is she gonna be okay?" And after like 20 or 30 seconds, I snapped out of it, but I was surprised that no one had brought the cops over or like brought security. You know, I didn't get in trouble.
No thanks.
But,
like, yeah, she just does that.
Yeah, it's like that's happened to me twice, like full blown panic attacks where I just pass the fuck out and black out.
Not doing it.
And then we were in Amsterdam the last day of, or it was after the European tour that we did together. We, as a band, decided to stay in Amsterdam for an extra 2 days.
No, okay, hold on a second. So I gotta remember I remember what I was talking about before. Now I can.
Yeah.
I got bookmarks going on this conversation. So it was cheaper to fly out of Amsterdam.
It was cheaper to fly out of Amsterdam.
So what we did was tour ended in
Dusseldorf.
And we're like, all right, let's go. We rented a minivan.
Yeah.
And we put ourselves and all the shit that we brought in the minivan, and then we went and stayed in a hostel in Amsterdam. And dude,
well, we stayed for 2 days, but the band stayed with us for a day.
And Shane and I were like, we're gonna stay for a couple days. And dude, I think about that all the time because you guys our sleep schedule, if you want to call it that, on that tour was stay up till like 9 a.m. and then
Yeah, it was like a very drunk.
It was like
and
insanity. Like this is a problem, and
it was a tour
which is
filled
funny
with
because
shenanigans.
when you met me, it was
And
like
me.
it was honestly bouncing back from that. Like,
Yeah.
All right, I've done.
Yeah, you were like one beer. Or
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
I have one or two drunk days.
Yeah,
oh, dude,
yeah, it was
you met us at the fittest that both of us have ever been.
But that was because of what we did in Europe.
It was because we got so fucked up in Europe that we felt like total losers.
Like gained like heaviest in my life. Like okay, this is horrible.
And
like,
we were just drinking, and there were poppers, and it was a really
dude, I added it up. I added it up, and I was like, I think I drank 10 to 20 drinks a day.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to brag. I'm not trying to brag.
Like,
that's what I did.
We were existing like aliens.
Yeah, it was
like
weird.
There was.
It was weird.
You know, you get all kinds of free beer there. We were getting a bottle of scotch every single night. Every band gets a bottle every night in Europe. So like, Beyond Creation would get like a bottle of whiskey, and Gorod would get like vodka or some shit.
French
and then people would
insane.
get wine, and we would have scotch, and we would all be trading drinks every night. And everyone on the tour liked to party. Like there was not
bad.
one person
Usually there's
who was
like
sober.
a band who's like on like
who's
in
like
Europe,
looking down on you. Usually there's a band who's like, these people fucking suck, like they're drunk every night. But this was like
every
all
single
of us
person
were fucked up every night. Like, dude, there were several nights on that tour where we would like stay up and we were blasting music through the bus while it was like roaming around Europe, and we would be putting on a light show because you can like click lights on the bus. So we were like playing dance music. And like 20 different fucking fucked up people were like, yeah, screaming and putting on the light.
And then it's like you open the blinds and it's like it's light outside.
Yeah. So we were really you met us like when we were bouncing back from
I was
that.
like, all right, we did that. Now we're gonna go militant, like workout people. Like we're gonna
the last night of that tour, we went to Amsterdam in a van. We decided to stay in Amsterdam. We went through the red light district and everything, and we were drinking, and it's like, honestly, the red light district isn't as cool as I would have imagined because I was so bummed because there were so many hot girls, but it's like they were all on their cell phone. They're all like sitting on their phone, like, you know, whatever. So anyway, we were walking through the whole red light district and everything. And as we were walking back to our hostel, I think it was Travis found like a wrapped brownie, like Astro brownie. Hella weed brownie on the ground. So and Tim and Travis and Michael, our sound guy, all split it. And
I'm like,
it was probably like 4 o'clock in the morning when we went to bed, and none of us woke up until 3 or 4 the next day. Like we were so fucked up. It was the craziest dude, and we split it. I was so fucked up. Like it was the craziest edible I've ever taken in my life. But long story short, even though I told the long version, edibles just fuck with you in a totally different way, man. They're just a totally different drug.
But the funniest thing is, like, the first one I ever had, we were on tour, and it was Thanksgiving, and they found a dispensary. We were in Colorado. I don't remember what part exactly, but like the show the next day was or the day before, I can't remember. It was in Denver, and so they all go to the dispensary. Joe gets like the full like 100 milligram bar. It's like breaks off into 10 milligram pieces. Ooh. And like, you know, Chris and Danny would turn around like, hey, Joe, you want to share a little or something like that? He's like, no, fuck you guys. I'm eating the whole thing.
Oh, no.
And he's like eating the whole thing. And I'm like,
no.
Oh my God, dude.
And then he just looks over at me and he's like, hey, Dave, happy Thanksgiving. And gives me like a piece, and I'm like, for real? And everyone's like looking at me like, you gonna do it? I'm like, yeah. He just kindly gave me like a piece of it. So like I took it, and we went to a Chinese buffet because it was the only thing that was open on Thanksgiving.
And how much did you eat? And you had the munchies up in there.
Oh, I ate so much. Like 3 plates worth, like ice cream, everything. It was going nuts.
Rest in peace buffets, man.
I know.
Straight up.
R.I.P., dude.
And like, I think I was like done with my second plate, and I was like, when is this thing going to kick in? I was like, I thought edibles were supposed to be crazy. And I stood up, and it was just instantly like, woo, like that moment. But it wasn't bad. It was just like the best high I ever had. I was like, that was great. And so after that, I was like, man, edibles are the way to go. And so that was always my choice.
No.
But like, they were great for a while, but then it was that that one that was dispensary recommended to me that just fucked me up, and I can't touch it.
I don't trust him.
Yeah.
I don't trust him.
I haven't touched it ever since.
The thing is, if you take like a super low, if you take like 5 or 10 milligrams, even 20 to me, it's okay. And it doesn't like make me feel crazy. But if I take more than that, then I'm going through a straight panic attack. Like I'm thinking of things that I said when I was 13 years old. Like, why did I say that to fucking... To Nick in 8th grade? Why would I have ever done that? I sound like an idiot, you know?
So wait, what were the dollar doses?
Dollar doses were only 5 milligrams.
Yeah, because
I worked
like,
for a weed company.
Okay, so she was like, she worked for this company who made these like little.
Did I take those on tour when we were on tour together? I had like these little like dollar dose suckers that I would take on tour because the
brand was dollar dose.
I worked for a weed company and each of them were 5 milligrams of THC, but they were super sugary and I didn't really like to eat them. But I had an entire bag of like probably 500 of them. I think I took it on.
Anyway, I ate one of those and I was
that.
like, all right, yeah, this is getting weird for me. And that's 5 milligrams.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I like smoking weed. I'm not trying to eat it. That's not my thing.
Yeah, weed fucks me, like straight up smoking weed fucks me up too. But I have to realize I lied. I have to call myself out on it. I have had it like twice since then. But because I think 3 or 4 of my aunts on my dad's side, they all have like medical cards. And so like they're like ripped all the time. And it's just so funny like seeing way later in life just my aunt like just ripping a pen or like they're like we got these cookies, but they're like protein, like weed infused like protein cookies. I'm like, this is awesome. And so they came over last week because my aunt was like going in for surgery and like she needed some like positive family time before like going into surgery. And so we're like hanging out, and then my mom just like whips out like the cookies like from the freezer, and she's like, she doesn't even ask me, she just puts one in front of me. My mom's like, I'm getting wine buzzed. Aunt Liz is getting ripped. So join us. And I was like, okay, because it was like those were the lighter doses, but my aunt was like, dude, she could take the amount that could like knock out a hippo and be fine.
Yeah.
Like she's just like, her tolerance is so high. So I took that and it was like pretty normal at first. Then I like finished a beer and then it like kicked in.
Oh yeah.
And like it wasn't bad, but I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like this feels good.
Yeah.
But then like at some point I just got up, went to the couch.
Yeah.
And I just passed the fuck out at like 9 o'clock. I was like, dude.
It's the best sleep. I'll tell you that much.
It is really good sleep.
It's perfect. I'm like taking melatonin almost every night, but I'm like, dude, that cookie was the bomb.
The protein.
That's awesome. So you got to like see your family and hang out with them a lot?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I live like less than 10 minutes from most of my family up the road. And then, you know, my grandma, she lives like 5 minutes the other way. So we're all like pretty close knit.
That's
pretty
awesome.
much everyone like lives almost in the same town, or at least the neighboring town.
What town do you live in?
I live in Jackson.
Which is the place in New Jersey that no one's ever heard of.
Are
right?
you
pretty much?
Is it like south, like west?
Yeah. Where do you live from where?
It's like more south. I mean it's not far from like where like I guess central Jersey is. I don't know.
Like
some
Asbury?
people say central. Yeah, like I live like 20 minutes from Asbury.
Okay. Naveen's cousins are from Asbury, so that's where we like always, you know.
Yeah. My aunt and uncle live there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what's up. Yeah. I mean,
I used to go there like every summer. Yeah.
Dude, next time you're there, hit me up. I'm literally not far at all.
Yeah, we gotta hang.
Beer garden.
Beer garden, dude.
Yeah.
Beer garden is so sick.
Oh, you've been there?
I've actually only been there once.
Plenty of times.
Bro, that place fucking rules, man.
I have a world of places to show you in Asbury. That one street that it's on, like, it's on like I think Lake Ave, but if like you just cross over the next block, Cookman Ave, everywhere is great. Like Tallulah's Pizza.
Yeah.
But that fucking burger that they have at Beer Garden is like the only burger I've ever eaten with my eyes closed because it was just perfect the whole time. I was like, this is.
I think we just got like pretzels.
I think we got a pretzel, because we were going to get dinner later that night. So do you feel like, is Jersey like a part of you? Are you Jersey?
Yeah, I'm not like Jersey representative. He's super Jersey.
But you like, if I saw you on the street, I might be this guy's Jersey, you know?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm always curious.
No, you don't have like a crazy Jersey accent or anything, but there's just like a thing about you kids from Jersey.
I guess so. Yeah.
You like beat down metal and shit. You like this,
Yeah, there's that for sure. Sometimes we like garbage music, but then we also like we have our preferences and our tastes, and we have that signature attitude. But yeah, it definitely lives within us. But yeah, I don't know. I just born and raised here, and I'm comfortable here. Like,
yeah,
it wouldn't. I don't know. It doesn't really cross my mind often. Like, where would I move to? Or like, where's like my future? I'm like, I wouldn't be upset living here. Yeah, it's expensive and stuff, but like,
well, what's expensive, bro?
Well, I mean, I still live with my parents, so I'm that guy. But I mean,
but what's like rent? Okay, so for what we have here, we have a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. What would that cost in Jersey to rent?
Doesn't know. Doesn't know the market.
I don't know for sure, but I mean, like, you guys like are living comfortably where you're at. Like
$2,000, $2,000.
Probably a little bit more than that.
No fucking way.
Yeah, it's the same as here.
See, that's the thing. It's
like
insane. We start to think about moving away, and it's like, well, anywhere else where we had this set up, it would cost the same.
Yeah, we've got kind of a deal where we're at. Right
yeah, I mean,
I know for a fact I've seen like some 1-bedroom apartments that just look like shit that are like $1,200 to $1,500 a month.
Holy shit!
It sucks.
Yeah,
that's legit.
So that's why I'm just like really saving up. And like the thing is too, it's like I don't know like how I would be like really just kind of like living completely on my own.
Yeah.
Like, not to get like fully personal, but it's like when it comes to like getting a place of my own, it's like I want it to be like with the woman I'm gonna be with the rest of my life. Or like,
do you have a woman that you're gonna be with for the rest of your life?
Not now. So ladies, if you're watching this, hit me up.
Yeah. Dave's a good guy. He's got a good haircut. He's clean. He's from Jersey.
He is confirmed.
Which means it'll
confirmed owns 1 pair of Yeezys.
Confirmed owns Yeezys.
Yeah.
So if you're a ratchet ass bitch, so you can sell it. Yeah. If you're ratchet, you can steal his Yeezys and sell them.
Oh my god. Yeah, I don't know. It's like either like I want to be like with the person I'm gonna be with like for the rest of my life, or hopefully the rest of my life, and then or like just a best friend. But it's like the best friends that I have are also like in positions where it's like they are still young, and their parents like understand. They're like, well, we're not trying to kick you out of here. Are you like having you here?
Are you that kind of guy though? Are you like looking for love? Or are you looking for a Tinder date? Are you like on Tinder like ghosting people?
Sad to admit, I'm on almost all of them, but like I don't pay attention to them right now. It's
he's gonna ghost you. He's gonna ghost you.
No, he's not ghosting. He's looking for love, dude.
Oh, he's looking for love.
Yeah. For a while,
Flavor of
like,
Dave.
Let's just see what's out there. And then
Dave
it was
of
like
love.
Dave of love.
Dave of love. Holy shit.
We've been watching a lot of Daisy of Love.
Don't say that on here, dude.
Sorry.
Wait. Remind me, which one is Daisy?
It's fucking horrible.
Okay, so Daisy tried to date Bret Michaels.
Party's here.
Yo, Daisy tried to date Bret Michaels, I think, and she got rejected. So then she has her own show called Daisy of Love, and we've been watching that. Are you like the type of guy who would like go on Daisy of Love and?
Oh fuck no! I'm not that desperate. Like, oh wait, like I don't mind. Like, but I just jumped into too many relationships, and like it was like pretty bad. Like. The relationship I was in, like when I was on like tour with you guys, that was like the worst shit ever, and it was like a long distance thing, and it was not. Like,
well, what was bad about it though? Was it that it was long distance, or was it that it was the worst shit ever?
It was a mix of that, but it was also kind of like I kind of jumped into it and like thinking I'm like I can do this. This seems like right, and but then there was just so much that I was not aware of with that person where I was like, oh. This is not worth the distance. And it was just kind of one of those things, but like, I'm like past that. Like I try not to like look back on it in like a negative way, but it was just like one of those things where I was in a weird state of mind around then. So like just jumping into that and thinking like, this is different. This is exciting. I can do this. But I was like, oosh. But like, I mean, you guys made long distance work, and it's like,
not really though. Not really. Cause Naveen and I were only together for like 3 months before we moved in together. So we made long distance work from California and Iowa, and
For like a couple
literally,
months.
I think it was like the
fuck
first
this.
time that we had hung out for 2 weeks straight. We were living together.
Yeah.
So that,
Damn.
but to
Rolled
be
the dice.
fair, there were a
Roll the
lot of.
dice on that one.
To be fair, there were a lot of people. I think. Well, I don't think there were a lot of people, but I think that there were people around us who may have been like, I don't know what these two are getting themselves into.
Oh,
you know,
probably everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
so
if you're a normal,
it doesn't always seem.
if you're
like,
a normal human being, you're gonna be like, what the fuck is going on here? This
but
is
we've
insane.
been, now
Yeah.
we've been together for 10 years, so it's like
That's
know,
amazing.
So
Yeah.
haters can
So-
fucking suck it.
Yeah, but
Straight up.
here's what I will say though, that is something from our relationship is that it always felt right. Like there was never
Yeah.
any snag at the beginning. Now there are
That's
snags
perfect.
every day. Now I'm like,
Little
what am I
snags
doing
here
with
and
this
there.
guy?
Kinda just-
But you know, it's like when you know, you actually do know. And I know that sounds like super weird to say, but it's like Naveen and I very much knew that it's magic.
The next album, your next album should just be called Antheos, a
It's
love
just
story.
about a love story.
God.
But you know what I mean? It's like when it does sound cheesy, but it's like when you know, you actually do know. And I'm assuming,
no.
I'm not going to go out there and like be this crazy like person, but I'm assuming that in the relationships that you had, you might have like had a little hunch in the back of your mind that it's like, I don't know, but I'm still going to try.
Here, yeah.
It's possible, you know. I mean, like I was like in like a one relationship for like 4 years, and like it was just like I was kind of like thinking about other things, like unfortunately, like I was kind of in a bad mental state like around then, so that like definitely pushed like that towards the end. And then it was not long after that, like not long at all, when like the whole long distance thing came into play, and I was just like, yeah, let's go. I need something fresh and different. And like, that's what like made me realize kind of later on, like after finding out other things, I was like, yeah, this is not right for me and not right for like my mental health. Like I need to be going the opposite direction and like try to make something actually possible work. Like
you're also a touring guy. And I can't imagine that it
rough.
is like fun to be a touring guy who's in a relationship.
It can be it was kind of tough. But like, you know, now I realize that it wasn't as hard as I thought. I wasn't trying, or I wasn't putting in the effort to making it work as much as possible. Like I wasn't being like a piece of shit, like out on the road, or like wasn't like cheating on my girlfriend or that. Like I despise that shit.
Yeah.
But like,
I actually
just one of
remember
those-
you talking about your girlfriend because I think that she was like going to come out to a date on the tour or something. So
yeah. And it was just like, you know, one of those things where like I was always respectful on the road. Like I never like I don't understand like people sometimes how they could just be like, oh dude, I'm out on the road, it happens. I'm like, I'm like, you're just not trying.
Yeah. Well, it's
I was
also
like,
what
you're taking
happens
shit
when
for
like
granted.
alcohol and drugs come into play.
It's not
you
good.
know, it's like a
100%.
Also, if there's like a little tour is like winning the lottery, you know, it's like whatever little thing is in there, it's gonna just get amplified like by a million.
Yeah,
right?
it's like if there's a chance
Yeah, like I was saying, like
that
if,
at home you wouldn't want to be with that person, then on tour
that's
it's like
that's it. Yeah, it's it. It's not gonna happen. So like I said, it's like okay, maybe at home I like to drink like five drinks would be like a crazy night or whatever.
Yeah.
Then on tour it's gonna be 15 drinks.
Right.
Is a crazy night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's amplified. It's like it's everything.
Everything's amplified for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you have some sort of thing where you want to maybe get with some other girls or whatever that's in the back of your mind, and you go on tour, it's not gonna. You're gonna just. You're gonna go there. You're gonna go there. You know.
Like the fucked up thing was always it was like when I was in a relationship, there would be like that one weird show like every once in a while where like it was only when I was in a relationship. I'd be at merch and then like some girl would approach me. And like she'd be like, "Hey, my friend thinks you're cute." I just see like the girl standing behind like at the bar, and I'm like,
you're like, "Oh no!"
I'm like, "Why? Like, why does this happen to me? Like when I'm in a relationship? Because now I just feel like guilty in a sense that I'm like even like, okay, what's up?" Like it was just one of those things. But like, yeah, that when I was single, it would be like no one would like bat an eye at me. I'm like, man, what is going on? Like the world is the world is twisted.
Right.
That's how it is, man. Out there,
That is
on
how it
tour,
is.
dude, for sure. But are you guys like talking about tour or probably not? Right? It's just like not a thing that's gonna happen. Or
We definitely talk about it sometimes. Like there's
Like,
some
hey,
things,
we might go on tour sometime in the future.
Yeah,
I
like,
wish we could go on tour again together. That'd be sick.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't like say what it is like on air, like, but like we did get like one offer for something like next year in the spring. So like hopefully that works out because it would be incredibly sick. And then there's just been other talks about little things that could possibly work.
Yeah.
But like we did get an actual offer for something next year. So
that's awesome.
As long as things work out and, you know, people take the proper precautions, and hopefully we can make that happen because
yeah, that'd be sick, dude. That'd be so sick.
Bucket list thing. Yeah.
I mean, even me, I'm like kind of jaded, and I'm like the type of guy to be like, oh, whatever, shows, or I don't care. But even me at this point, I'm kind of like, fuck, I'm ready to go do something for real.
Yeah,
you know,
it would feel so good to just get back on stage, man.
Yeah.
I know.
If the world was like, all right, everything's unlocked, we're good to go, like next week, I'd be like, let's go.
Time to go.
Yeah, let's fucking do it, man. Yeah, it'd be cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
I'd be like 100% practice mode again, like all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
That is
I'm
true.
unfortunately taking bigger breaks from practice than I should be right now. It's just like, you know, some days I get home, I'm exhausted, and, you know, other things in the equation, and I'm just like, I don't want to play right now.
You got to cut a playthrough for that new song, man. What's up?
I know. I'm trying to see that.
Yeah, definitely going to do playthroughs right this time.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
You know, I care about this record too much to not put out like playthroughs for it. Like,
Yeah.
Totally.
That'd be
and
sick.
I'm pumped to do it.
I want to see it.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have Austin Archie shoot him, because dude, he does great like video work for playthroughs and shit, which I was never like fully aware of.
Yeah.
Then he was like,
awesome.
dude, hit me up to shoot him. I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then get our producer to like record him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be perfect.
That'd be amazing. We should definitely do that.
Hell yeah.
Definitely.
All right, man. We're at 2 hours and 10 minutes, so we're probably gonna.
Nice.
This might be
We ought to
our
wrap.
longest podcast ever. I don't know.
No, I think we've had like a 2.5 hour.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know.
It's nearing.
This is up there.
It's nearing, but we love you.
Awesome.
We love your band.
Yeah, man.
And we love having you on, man. So thank you for coming
Love you guys
on.
too. Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Hell yeah.
All right, man. Well, we'll link everybody to
all the Sentinel
newest
shit,
single
because
and
it's
all
a
that
band
shit.
we think you guys need to listen to. Like you gotta
All
hear
right.
Sentinels.
All right, brother. We'll
Thank you,
check you out
guys.
soon. Peace.
Have a good week.
Peace. You too.